Okay, let's start. I will speak in Armenian first and then switch to English. Շնորհակալություն ենք հայտնում բոլոր հետաքրքրված ոլորտի ներկայացուցիչներին այսօրվա մեր վեբինարին միանալու համար։ Շնորհակալություն ենք հայտնում նաև եվրոպական միությանը, որի աջակցությամբ եւ ֆինանսավորմամբ կարողացել ենք իրականացնել այս վեբինարը մեր միջազգային էքսպերտների մասնակցությամբ, որի նպատակը լինելու է որոշակի տեղեկատվություն, լավագույն փորձ այս իրավիճակի հետ կապված հաջորդ անելիքներով կիսվել ու հասկանալ ինչպես կարող ենք աջակցել ոլորտին, որն ամենաշատն է COVID-ից տուժել։ Այսօր մեզ միացել են նաև շնորհակալություն ենք հայտնում туриզմի զբոսաշրջության պետական կոմիտեին աջակցության համար։ Այսօր մեզ կողջունեն մեր ՎԶԵԲ Հայաստանի ղեկավար Դմիտրի Գվինդաձեն, Գոնզալո Սերրանոն, ով հանդիսանում է Եվրոպական միության համագործակցության բաժնի ղեկավարը, եւ Սուսաննա Սաֆարյանն է туриզմի պետական կոմիտեի նախագահ։ So I will give the welcome floor to Dmitry Gvindadze, who is the EBRD head of Armenia. Please, Dmitry.
Hi, thank you very much. Good morning, good day, dear colleagues, dear participants to this webinar. Very brief introduction. I think this is a very important webinar. Basically, in the recent weeks, the Advice for a Small Business program and the EBRD, we have rolled out a series of webinars on the issues which are relevant in light of the latest developments in Armenia, but also in the region and in the world, in all our countries of operation, because the current economic and the current economic and health context has been impacting all our countries of operation. Very briefly about our work in Armenia. Our current portfolio in Armenia is close to $400 million. 90% of our portfolio is in the private sector, so we're basically the international financial institution which supports the private sector, and we work in all sorts of areas: financial institutions, energy and natural resources, sustainable infrastructure, agriculture, information communication technologies, manufacturing and services, and property and tourism. So property and tourism is one of the important pillars of our work in all our countries of operation. So we do follow the developments related to the COVID and its impact on the travel and tourism industry quite closely. That's why this seminar is actually very important, because if you look at the impact of the COVID on our region and on Armenia in particular, we basically see a new normal. Many of us will work from home. There are many new workplace requirements. Many industries are being rethought in general in the travel and tourism sector, but also beyond it. There are winners and losers, and no one could predict that a couple of months ago. You've got tens of millions of jobs which are being lost, including in the property and tourism and hospitality sector, which is being hit quite hard. In Armenia, the tourism and hospitality has positioned itself as a very strategic sector. If I'm not mistaken, in 2019, the growth in this sector was 15% on the year-on-year basis, basically compared to 2018. And the sector has been contributing close to 10% of the employment and close to 10% of the GDP. So whatever happens in that sector has very significant consequences for the economic situation and for the social situation in the country. That's why this webinar is so highly relevant and very timely. Looking at the program, you would see that some of the key issues which will be discussed are interesting for all stakeholders, for the government, but also for the private sector participants, like how to manage this crisis and how to mitigate its impact. What are the recovery strategies which can be deployed? What can the governments do on top of what they are already doing? Because you know that in many countries, the governments are rolling out very significant fiscal stimulus measures. What else can be done in terms of granularity, in terms of new methods and new approaches which would benefit the private sector participants in the travel and tourism industries? How can the businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, rethink their financial and marketing models? Which new client acquisition strategies and channels to explore? What are the new health and safety requirements? What are the new modes of the regional and global cooperation that can help? So, I mean, these are very complex issues these days, you know, and we're facing lots of uncertainty. I don't think anyone can provide definitive solutions, but this is exactly the right time to start the debate, to foster that discussion at the country level, at the regional level, but also at the global level. This being said, I give the floor back to the organizers, and I want to thank everyone who have contributed to this, to our team, Advisor, a small business team represented by Tigran and Armine, also to the colleagues from the European Union who have been providing financing and lots of support to implement the ASB-related work in the country. And I wish you a very successful day, stimulating debates, because this is really very important. I mean, these are not hollow words. This seminar and this topic is hugely relevant in the context of the social and economic development of many countries which have developed this dependence on the tourism and hospitality sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dimitri. I would like to give the floor to Gonzalo Serrano with pleasure, because this is all done through the support and funding from the European Union. Please, Gonzalo.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good afternoon. Great to be joining you today in the frame of our EU for Business SME Advisory Service Program with EBRD. Good afternoon to Dimitri, especially, and the organizers, Tigran and Armine, and the whole team, and particularly today, glad to see that we have been able within the program to mobilize expertise from different countries. I'm very sure that we are going to have a very intense session of exchanging best practice and advice on the important economic sector for Armenia, which is tourism. From the EU side, of course, we are these days also working very closely with all of you, with the government, with many other IFIs like EBRD, in helping dealing with the immediate emergency crisis, which is, as you know, mostly focused on providing support in the health dimension of the crisis, also in the social protection. But equally important is indeed to help and assist on the economic front. And for this, our top priority indeed is to support to the SMEs sector, not only in Armenia, but I would say in the whole Eastern Partnership region. So an important package of support is being mobilized these days, being discussed with EBRD, European Investment Bank, AW, and others. In parallel, we are doing an important effort to repurpose many of the ongoing programs. Some of you may be aware that we have an important ongoing program with GIZ, precisely a new one that was launched just months before the crisis hit us. And we're trying as much as possible, again, to mobilize technical and financial support in this important sector for Armenia. We do feel, and you are feeling indeed, that particularly in tourism, but also in other areas like agriculture and business, the country is really suffering. We had a fantastic year ahead of us at the very beginning, of the year. Now we have this global crisis that is affecting everyone. So we need indeed to reflect about the future. And as it's usually said, any sort of crisis also comes with opportunities. So I think in here we need to do a sort of reading in that sense and take the opportunity of the new scenarios, and to see how together we can respond better and keep the high level of the tourism potential also here in Armenia. So I think I will leave it here. We are also, of course, working very closely, as I said, with the tourism committee in terms of government support to the SMEs. So there are important reflections about strategies and response that we need to also reflect more in the medium and long term, on top, of course, of ongoing several sort of measures that the government has put together to help the Armenian SMEs in the short term. So again, thanks a lot, particularly to the experts joining us today, to the EBRD, and happy to be joining today with many representatives of the SME sector in Armenia, which is at the end the engine of growth and jobs in the country. So over to you, Armine and Tigran. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Gonzalo. Շատ շնորհակալություն բոլոր նոր միացող մեր մասնակիցներին։ Ես մի քանի հատ այտենց ադմինիստրատիվ բաներ ասեմ, եթե հարցեր ունեք ընթացքում, ամեն խոսնակից հետո լինելու է հարց ու պատասխան։ Եթե չհասցնենք պատասխանել հարցերին, բոլոր հարցերը հավաքելու ենք եւ արդեն կպատասխանեն էքսպերտները եւ ձեզ մեյլով կուղարկենք բոլոր հարցերի պատասխանները, քանի որ ժամանակը շատ երկար չէ։ Հարցերը կարող եք գրել չաթում, ես բոլորը կհավաքեմ։ Կարծես թե Սուսանա Սաֆարյանը չի կարողացել դեռ միանալ, կսպասենք ընթացքում միանա եւ կուզեմ արդեն ներկայացնել մեր էքսպերտներին, Ռաուլ Կրանսիերը, որը մեր միջազգային խորհրդատվության, туриզմի, զբոսաշրջության, հյուրընկալության եւ ժամանցի ոլորտի թիմի ղեկավարն է, ով ղեկավարում է այս ուղղությունը EBRD-ում, կներկայացնի ընդհանուր առմամբ ինչ ենք մենք պատրաստել ձեր համար եւ նաեւ կբարի հաջորդ էքսպերտների խոսնակների ներկայացումը։ Ունենք 5 տարբեր թեմաներ, 5 շատ կարեւոր, որոնք գտել ենք, որ կարեւոր է նաեւ ոլորտի Հայաստանի զբոսաշրջության հյուրընկալության ոլորտի համար, հուսով ենք օգտակար կլինի ու նաև կներկայացնենք հաջորդիվ ինչ աջակցման ծրագրեր կլինեն ՎԶԵԲ-ի կողմից ոլորտի ընկերությունների համար։ Շատ շնորհակալություն. Thank you everyone. So I would like to introduce Raul. Please, Raul, you can take the floor.
All right. I do not see the screen. I see only camera. Is the presentation there? Yes. So we need to go, yes, to the first slide. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Raul. Armin, can we go to the next slide? There. Yeah, yes. My name is Raul. I am team coordinator with EBRD for the hospitality, tourism and leisure sector. My job is to coordinate a team of about 35-40 advisors with different expertise in hospitality. Today, we're going to introduce you to some of these experts so they can tell you themselves how they can be helpful to you from their point of expertise. Now, a little bit about myself. I am originally from Holland. I studied hotel management in Switzerland at École Les Roches. I have until today 30 years of experience in managing primarily hotels and advising hotels, restaurants and tour operators in Western and Central Europe, including the Russian Federation and CIS countries. I've also done a project in Armenia. This is actual at this point. My specialty is marketing and finance, which I use to help clients to improve the performance of their business, be it sales, be it cash flow, be it the profit, which you can define by EBITDA or the net operating profit. I'm not a banker, I'm a hotelier, but within the organization of the bank, I help the clients of the bank to implement change and improvement of their business. And I'm like in between of the bank and the clients, so both sides understand each other. I'd like to give you a little bit an impression of where the hospitality sector is standing today. This is not my personal view. This is what I take from the press. This is what I learn from speaking with my colleagues and other experts. These are the facts as they are. Now, if I look at some of the statistics which are available for your sector and your country, it shows that Armenia is depending quite strongly its GDP on tourism sector. has experienced a tremendous growth, is leading to a lot of jobs which are being employed, and the perspective is even better for the future. What I do note is that your tourism sector is largely inbound dependent and not coming from the national market. Now, if you look at the competitiveness of your country, you are, however, still not ranked on a very high scale. You're 79th out of 140 countries which are measured by the World Economic Forum. So you're lagging behind other countries in your region, for example, Georgia, which is ranked higher. It's interesting to know, if you look at the number of people who had disposable income to go on a holiday and also a passport to do that, if you went back to the 70s, there were 200 million people which were able to go on a holiday abroad, so not in their own country, but to go abroad. And in 2019, this has increased to a staggering number of 1.5 billion people. There's a reason behind this growth. This did not happen just like this. The main reasons are that disposable income in China has improved dramatically, meaning people from China could travel abroad, cheaper flights, the cheap airlines, they have opened up an opportunity to travel abroad, which was not possible for a large audience which were before depending on business airlines like Austrian or Lufthansa. The online travel portals like Booking.com, Expedia have contributed tremendously as well because of the transparency in the way they sell. So they haven't necessarily taken away business from local travel agencies. They have actually increased the number of guests traveling. Important to note as well that in the Western world, the number of countries you could travel to without a visa has doubled in the last 50 years. Now, fact is that by the end of April, I've experienced it myself. I was in Georgia and then the borders were closed, meaning everyone had to go home very quickly. And when you went back, you had to go into quarantine. Now, these borders were closed for foreign tourists. We all have experienced this now for a period of, 3 months. They are slowly easing up again. I can see it in Austria, where I'm based, that we are starting to work again. We have free movement again, but there's still a lot of restrictions in place, and this will be the normal, the new normal that we are facing with. There is a general consensus that travel, yes, it will happen again, but very slowly, and when it will happen, there will be a lot of restrictions. So the procedures of security, the procedures of passports, they will be even more restricted now, also with health checking before, during, and after the travel. You can see worldwide that everywhere where travel is happening again, it's starting locally. For example, in China, you could see that after the restrictions were reduced, travel happened again. However, only local, not a single international guest. If you look at the way travel is starting up again, you see first local, then at the later stage, you have regional, and at the final stage, you have international. And the final stage, we have to put a date into this. It depends entirely on when a vaccine has been found. Until the vaccine has been found, we are facing with a problem. But for the sake of practicality, at least within EBRD, we are expecting that it is going to last until the middle of next year, 2021, summer. That is what we're looking at, that we have to adjust to the new normal. Now, the survival of your business will depend entirely how you will adapt to this new normal. Adaptation is key. First of all, you need to make sure that you have enough cash flow to survive this crisis, because if there's no business coming in, there's no income. And if there's no income, what are you going to do with your operating costs? we at the bank have decided that we want to help you during this downtime to prepare for after COVID-19. So in this downtime, we encourage you to work with us, that we let our advisors help you through remote advisory to improve the procedures and operations of your business, so that once the COVID-19 impact is being reduced and you can start operating again, you have better capacity, better know-how to position yourself. If we can go to the next page, I'm unable to do that. Amin, can you help me with that? No? Yes. I'm afraid we have a technical problem. Min, can you put it back on presentation mode? Yes, there we are. When we look at reopening, so starting to welcome guests again, the most important question you need to ask yourself is, are you ready to welcome these guests again? The guests who will resume traveling, the first question that they will ask themselves is not what price they will have to pay, what services will be included. The first question they will ask themselves is, will I get sick when I travel to Armenia? And if I get sick, what will happen? How will they manage it? So the key to convince the guest to come back to Armenia is not one that you can decide or answer in your hotel or in your restaurant. You have to work together. The key to success is destination marketing. Destination marketing, not only to tell a story, but actually also do it. Now, one of the countries that has done this very successfully is Portugal. So the Portuguese Tourism Association, together with the Portuguese Hotel Association, has worked together with the Ministry of Tourism, and they have created a seal called Clean and Safe Portugal. Now, the government, through their destination management organizations, are marketing worldwide this seal, Clean and Safe Portugal. The objective of this marketing campaign is to tell the world, if you travel to Portugal, you will be safe. You will not get sick. And if you get sick, we'll take care of you. So this is the message. Now, besides the message, all the restaurants and hotels have received very strict criteria by which they have to operate their business. And when they comply with these standards, they can put the seal on their door, they can put it onto their website, they can put it onto their marketing collateral, and the single activity of a hotel and a restaurant combined with a national program is helping to get the word out that guests will say, if I travel to Portugal, I will be safe. And then the question is not about the price. The question is not whether you stay at a 5-star or a 4-star. The question is the guest feels reassured that he can travel. I encourage you to visit the websites of HOTREC and the World Health Association. And when we complete this webinar, we will send to you this presentation so you can find the links from the presentation, but you can Google them as well. You will find them, no problem. So the key is guests will look for reassurance that they won't get sick in your destination. And if you apply the World Health Organization criteria, you're making a big step already. But this is something that you will have to unite on and work together. So it requires an issue. We go to the next slide again. There. Now, I propose to you the panel that is going to speak today. These are all experts from the industry. They work with EBRD, and they will tell you from their perspective how they can help you. The presentation will be short. It's about 20 minutes each. Each expert after its presentation will do a Q&A. So please write your questions in the chat box. So once a presentation is completed, we can read the questions from the chat box and we can answer them. If there are too many questions that we cannot answer in a short time, we will still get back to you at the end of this presentation by sending out an email with all the questions asked. So don't worry if your question cannot be answered within the time available of this webinar. Now, the first one that we're going to listen to is Kinga. Kinga is based... Can everyone mute itself who is not speaking now? Thank you. So the first person who we are going to listen to is Kinga. Kinga is based in Italy, probably one of the worst affected countries in Europe when it comes to COVID-19. Kinga is an SME herself. She provides destination management services to local destinations. So this is someone who helps hotels and restaurants to get the story out, to make sure that people are aware what their destination has to offer. And I suggest you listen to her very carefully, because this is someone who can tell you from practice, not theory, what she's able to do to help you. And then we have Rianne, who is originally from the Netherlands, but based in Slovakia. She's a travel trade expert. So travel agencies, please make use of her expertise in CRS and CRM systems, how you can apply online technology to save operating costs. So get ready for the next season by structuring your sales, structuring your client relationship management. So you can achieve a saving in your labor expenses, at the same time increase the number of transactional sales. So she is someone that could help you tremendously. But to do what she explains, you will need to have the time also to implement it. Then we have Koen from Dubai, originally from Belgium. He is a seasoned F&B expert who not only knows how to serve food, but also knows how to calculate a menu, how to implement HCCP, which is the health standard for kitchens. And I think HCCP is crucial, not only in operating your business in a safe way, but if you market your business that you comply with HCCP, it's a no-brainer, because the guest will know, aha, this establishment I can trust, I will not get sick in this property. Brandon May from Germany, originally from Canada, is an expert on the subject of hotel revenue management. So please, this is especially addressed to the hotels among you in this public. I think Brian will also touch base on what I've just said, which is destination management. The first question guests will ask is it safe to travel to the destination? But he will explain you how to get that message across through the various distribution channels, and also how this impacts the rates you can sell. Glenn is a seasoned expert on the subject of commercial management of hotels. He has a wide experience in hotel management, be it with intercontinental hotels, Oberoi hotels. So he has background in branded hotels and non-branded hotels, privately managed hotels. He can help you to understand how, when you plan your business in such a way that it turns into a commercial plan and a business plan, how this can have an effect on your EBITDA and your cash flow. So you can project growth once guests are going to book again. We go to the next slides, if that works. We have a little bit of a problem with the slides today. Yeah, so I would now like to hand over to Kinga. Did we manage to get Kinga on board? Kinga, are you there? Hello?
I think she's connecting. There are some problems. Maybe
she's not yet connected?
She's not been able to connect with the notebook, but with the mobile phone, it seems like, but I'm not sure if she can turn on her sound right now. Maybe we need to find her as the mobile phone.
I was just going to the next speaker, and then we'll try to fix this technical issue.
Well, in that case, we will move on to Rianne, and once Kinga is connected, we can then switch back to Kinga after Rianne has finished. So we'll go through. There. Yes, that's the one. So Rianne, are you there? Rianne?
Hello, I can see her, but maybe she's... Hello? Okay, just not to waste the time, maybe let's move on until ladies can somehow resolve the technical issues.
All right, okay, so we have to make a little compromise here. The first two speakers cannot get connected too. We have a technical problem. This happens, what can we do? So we will first start then with Koen, our F&B expert from Dubai. Koen, please tell us, you are there.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, wonderful. We have one speaker available.
Can everybody hear me?
I can hear loud and clear.
Okay, I must apologize if you hear some background noise. The fire alarm in my building has just gone off, so I hope it's only the drill and not a real fire. If you see me running away, if you see me running away from the screen, it means it's a real fire. So my apologies in advance. Right. So, well, again, welcome everybody during this very difficult time. As Raoul explained earlier, I'm originally from Belgium. I live in Dubai for the last 17 years, and my background is nothing but with food and beverage, basically. My background is 5-star hotels, corporate offices, in hospitality companies, standalones, etc., etc. And I'm a specialist in food and beverage development, consultancy, and I assist SMEs from A to Z in food and beverage. I am a HACCP certified individual, but I'm not a HACCP trainer, just for you to be aware. Yeah. So can you go to the next screen, please? Yeah. So my presentation today, my very brief presentation, is mainly about HACCP. HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. And it's an international management system that basically addresses food safety through the analysis and the control of biological, chemical, and physical hazards from raw material production, procurement, and manufacturing, etc., etc. So HACCP is not just used by restaurants or large production kitchens. The HACCP process, or the HACCP circle, starts actually much earlier. It starts actually from farmers to companies that buy up meat, vegetables, etc., etc., to distributors, up to the last point, which is obviously the restaurant industry. Funnily enough, just before I came on the call, I was scrolling through my Twitter account, and I've just read, for example, that this morning in a region in Germany, the German government have quarantined a whole region because there was another outbreak of COVID-19 in a meat packaging factory. So that shows you again that these things can happen way earlier than restaurants, and that's why it's very important for restaurants, when they buy produce from suppliers, that not only the restaurant exercises HACCP, but that also the suppliers, the wholesalers, distributors have also done their bit to make sure that that they work in a safe way. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with HACCP, you can get qualified for HACCP. If you wish to do that, it's best to do that through an international institution that can give you a certificate and a diploma, and it includes either a full day or a multiple day course, which is followed by an exam. What you're going to get from me today is, in short, is a crash course on steroids on HACCP, and how you can implement certain things to make sure that you're safe. So if you talk about HACCP, we need to identify first what are hazards. Yeah. So you've got 4 types of hazards which you can encounter in your operation. You've got biological, chemical, physical, and allergenic hazards. The ones that we'll be looking at mainly is the biological. That basically is your bacteria, your protozoa, your viruses, your molds, your yeast, and your parasites. Yeah. All the other hazards are also very important, but given the current situation, we won't discuss these here. Yeah. For example, if you look at bacteria, you've got bacteria like Salmonella, Listeria, Clostridium. You've got Staphylococcus. Those are the type of bacteria that we're talking about. Yeah.
Koen,
Yes.
would you like me that we take over for a second until your fire situation is resolved? Would that help?
Yes. If it disturbs too much, yes, please.
I think we should let that sustain for a sec, and that we continue with Brandon. We are unlucky today with the technology, and then there's a fire. Okay. It's a bad omen. I suggest you take a little break until the fire is done.
Let me go and find out what's happening, and I'll speak to you soon.
Brandon, are you available?
I am indeed.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for this trouble, but the technology is not on our side today. We're going to move ahead to Brandon. In the meantime, Rianne, I think, has been able to sign on, as well as Kinga. So I'd like to move fast forward to Brandon, and I hope you won't have any fire at your end, Brandon.
I'm crossing my fingers that there's no fires over here.
Yes.
But I'm not too far from what Koen was just mentioning, the area with the meatpacking plants. So I feel that.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I give the floor to Brandon, and I hope we will have a presentation in one piece, in one go. Brandon, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much. So today we're going to be taking a look, or my section is going to be taking a little bit of a look from the revenue management side, which is a quite important part. To do a very brief introduction, I've been working in the hospitality industry for over 10-20 years, and most of those years have been spent in consulting and education, focused around revenue management and distribution systems. So we'll go through a couple of things, what revenue management has to say about the current situation that we're in and how we can move forward. So there's 3 main things that I want to speak with you today about. And the first is how to price your products during a global pandemic. This is perhaps the most important part of my presentation, so I didn't save the best for last. I put it right up at front so that no one has an excuse to miss this part. This is the most important part. Then I'll go on and I'll start to talk about some successful tactics out of historic economic downturns that revenue managers and hotels and other travel and tourism type of entities have used to overcome an economic downturn. And then I'll talk a little bit about communication, particularly from the focus of the distribution channels. So for the next 15 or 20 minutes or so, those are the main things that we're going to go through. So if we look at that first question of how to price during a global pandemic, there are really 3 simple rules that you have to remember. And the first rule is discounting does not work. The second rule is discounting does not work. And the third rule is discounting does not work. And so I hope that you really get the point that discounting doesn't work. But what is discounting exactly? So discounting is actually lowering your main or your flexible rate in particular, the idea of undercutting your competitor's rate. So just going a little bit under your competitor to try to steal business from your competitor. This doesn't work, has never worked anytime anyone has tried it. So don't do it. And worst of all, it's not just that it damages you, but it damages the entire market. And this makes a lot of sense because, of course, the price is not the issue. On the left side, we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you see the first needs are on the bottom are the physiological, and then the safety needs. So things like travel and vacation and even business travel tend to move up the hierarchy, whereas in order to do business travel at all, you need to fulfill those safety needs, as Ro was saying earlier in the discussion. So it doesn't matter what price it is. You can put it as cheap as you want. If people don't feel safe, they are not going to come. So price is not the issue, nor is it the solution to these challenges we have. So as a second argument, I want you to imagine that your normal price is a rate of 75 euros and your normal number of rooms you sell is about 100 rooms. And imagine you start discounting the rate and you say, I'm just going to take 5% off of the rate. So it's 71.25. Well, now to get back to that same amount of revenue you had before, you need to get 6% growth. So a 5% discount means you need 6% more revenue. And that's just unrealistic in most cases. But it gets even worse as the discount goes up. So if you get 10% discount, now you need to grow volume. You need to sell 12% more revenue or more rooms. And imagine if you were to give a 70% discount, you need to sell almost 2.5 times more than you sold before to get back to the same point. So the idea here is basically discounting will just drop your revenue. It will not generate that additional growth that you're dreaming and hoping. You will not steal enough business from other people to get back to where you are through a discounting strategy. It just doesn't work. And of course, it kills your cash flow quite terribly in terms of what you are making in terms of revenues and cash flow. And that's of course a key consideration to surviving any difficult time. So the next argument I want to bring to you is 4 different scientific studies, especially in the COVID-19 world. We've been focusing a lot more on scientific studies, but these 4 scientific studies, all done by Cornell University, all have looked at does dropping the price actually help? And in all cases, they've said, no, it does not help. Dropping the price is not a valid strategy. Despite that, in the last global financial crisis, nearly 3/4 of hotels tried it again. And this was the least likely strategy that they would recommend after it was all done. So most tried it, and almost everyone said, don't do it, it's a bad idea. So that begs the question, so what does work? If we're not allowed to drop the price to try to generate demand that is not going to work, how do we actually do this? Well, the first and most important thing is to maintain your price positioning. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have the exact same rate as you always did, but what it means is relative to your competitors, you should have the same rate. So don't start selling underneath a competitor that's better for you, for example. If you do feel the need to start providing some discounts for particular negotiated business and so on, then always make sure you obscure the rate. So hide that you're giving the discount. In other words, hide it in behind some other things that make it not clear that you're dropping the rate. And then keep or increase your marketing budget, but be ready to adapt your message and refocus on new segments and source markets. And finally, keep your services up despite cost cutting. And then if you can afford it and if it makes sense for you, Now is actually a good time to close for renovations, as normally it's costly in addition to the cost of renovation, but also the lost revenues. Well, of course, the lost revenues right now are lower than they otherwise would be. So when we talk about price positioning, you could imagine your property here is actually the one in the middle. And there are some properties that are better than your properties, so they're on the right, and there's some properties that are worse than your property on the left, and there are some properties that are more expensive than your property up here, and there are others that are less expensive than your property down here. And so you can see that there are, for this property, actually three that are significantly cheaper and just a little bit not as good. So you can see there's kind of this line here of similar type properties. The dangerous ones are the ones over here. These are the guys that are potentially discounting already and doing it poorly, where you see the quality is better than these properties over here, but they're selling at the same or lower rate. So you see that these guys are all kind of playing a similar price value game, whereas these guys seem to be trying to play the game of dropping the price versus their quality. So don't do this. This will end up with having less revenue for you and for the competitors. But again, if you need to drop that rate a little bit, then how can you do it? Well, the first thing you can do is start offering extra nights free, so a kind of minimum stay. You can hide that rate by packaging it with air and car. You can add value-added packages. So hide the final rate by adding breakfast, mini bar, some food and beverage, maybe room service breakfast, and so on. Maybe even a SARS-CoV-2 test included in the room rate, as some hotels are looking to do in Iceland, for example. As well, there are something called opaque channels, where you don't post your price for the world to see. And very similar to that are closed segments, so channels where you have to sign in yourself. Now, the last topic to look at is this question of the marketing budget. There's a real temptation to drop your marketing budget and not spend that money during these difficult times. The experience has spoken against that. We have a lot of things to communicate, so we really need to be not cutting those things down. We need to adapt our message depending on the channel that we're looking at, and there are a number of different channels to go through. First of all, similar to what Raul mentioned earlier, the US, the AHLA, Hotel Association, has come up with a safe stay program. Singapore is doing a similar program, as well as the big chains are doing programs as well. So I urge you to look at doing these kinds of cleanliness and clean, safe programs, because this is the absolute minimum requirement. And then you have to communicate it to the staff or to the customers, the guests. And then, of course, when you're looking at alternative segments, we need to look at the willingness and the ability and desire to travel. As Raul pointed out, short haul, so short trips, national trips will come back first, then regional, and then long haul. And you can definitely, for your destination, leverage this off the beaten path trend a little bit. So some people are trying to find places where there are fewer people than perhaps, for example, here in Central and Western Europe. So I did bring a couple of numbers. You have had significant growth over the last 10 years and fairly consistent growth. I think 2020 is going to be, of course, a difficult year, but we can see that you're in a good position to recover after COVID has left. And when we look at source countries, we can see that a lot is from the EU. This will take a little bit to come back. And your next primary market destination is then Russia, then Iran, which of course has been hit very hard, and the US, which has been hit very hard as well. So you will definitely have to be looking at which markets will be traveling earlier and will be able to come back earlier. There is, of course, still a significant group in other, which is a mix of a number of different countries. And of course, a lot of these are Armenian nationals who are returning to visit family and so on. But a lot of these are tourists and business travel as well. So as a kind of topic on this communication, it's really, really important that you don't just improve your health and safety in the property or in your tour operator or in your restaurant. It's important to also communicate this information. So you really need to look at the various digital marketing tactics you have, sending an outbound email, using Google pay-per-click advertising, retargeting is tracking them on your website and communicating back to them. So there are a number of different tactics that you can use to communicate, and one of the main things you need to communicate is we're ready and we're safe for you. And of course, it's important, it's important to make sure that while you're going through, you're looking at different revenue streams that can come and assist you in the meantime to make sure that you are generating as much revenue as you possibly can through that structure that you have, even if it's not being used for a classic room night stay. So there are lots of opportunities there. The other thing that you have to look at is there are a number of different channels that you have to think about where these people are coming. Online travel agencies are very important, but also your direct communication, be it email and phone, and your tour operator partners. So each of these partners, you're going to have to look at how can I communicate my COVID-19 readiness to this channel. And for example, alone Booking.com in the last 3 weeks have added an additional 16 different parameters that you as a hotel can click on and edit and add to tell your potential guests on the other side that you are COVID ready. So it's quite important to make sure that you go through these various channels one by one to make sure that you have a clear communication plan for each of these. And the key components is we're taking it seriously, we're doing the cleaning, we are providing additional and alternative services. So for example, if the restaurant's not open, we're providing in-room dining. And then there's a link to independent source for the current situation, such as Worldometer and so on, so that people can independently ascertain what information or independently ascertain how is the situation in your country, not just from a marketing point of view. So a couple of other pieces. This is an example from one of our clients. We actually provide an email messaging tool for people to respond. And this is what one of our clients have done to add COVID-19 messaging to their customers. So with peace of mind, this positive headline, commitment to safety, and make sure there's additional information for the destination. Of course, the website and the booking engine both need additional information on COVID readiness. Be proactive, contact your partners, give them updated information, what you're doing, and communicate your updated availability as well. Because what's really happening right now is we're struggling in the hotel industry with lower occupancy, and this is going to stick for a while, probably lower rates, despite the first 5 minutes of my presentation, and the higher costs that are coming to you because of the disinfection and so on. Despite all of that, you have the challenge that you need to maintain your quality while you need to reduce costs to survive. So there's a number of ways, of course, that you can do that. But the biggest recommendation is that you focus on making sure you first make it safe, which is driving those increased costs. Jumping back and forth on me, apologies. And there's, in this presentation, which you will receive later, there's some information from the WHO on exactly how to do those safety things in some detail. And then, of course, because of this operational thing, you will simply need to reduce your staffing to a lower level than it was in the past. So hotels in Europe, for example, which are already reopened, are breaking down silos. Someone on the front desk is also doing reservations and is also, in some cases, cleaning the rooms and preparing breakfast. So we see some other cost-saving things that are also focused on social distancing, key issuance, so moving towards so that there's no actual check-in, a digital check-in like many providers are suggesting. And then, of course, there's the ability to use AI to automate some of the processes in the hotel. So I have to full disclosure, this is actually a tool that my company has built. It's an AI tool that actually reads the inbound emails and automatically reads those and provides some assistance to the agents to reduce the amount of effort. So these kinds of trends of reorganizing the hotel around automation and reduced staff is certainly the biggest trend that we are seeing right now in hotels as we move forward. So this is a time of transformation. It's going to be a difficult time, but certainly it's possible, and it's certainly realistic that many players in the industry come out stronger and transformed in a better actual financial structure for future growth. So we have some challenges to overcome, and they're really pushing us to make changes, but these changes are certainly going to put us into a strong position for the future. So I have seen there's been some questions coming up. So I'm going to, as I've finished off, jump in and start looking at some questions. I think I need to move up a little bit. Yep. So we've got some questions from Anna. Arrival by country, does it cover all travelers or only the ones for leisure? So these are arrivals. In the presentation, there's a link to the source, so you can check out the source that I have used, and there's more detail within that. So please check out the presentation once you get a copy of it, and then you can check out the link directly to the source. But certainly it's including all different kinds. So we have safety and security protocols issued by the government, but we do not have a checking and certification mechanism to make sure that the hotels and restaurants follow the new rules. How can we make sure that the HoReCa segment agents follow these rules? Maybe we should create a certification mechanism. I think that's a great idea. I'm obviously not the one that can directly push that forward for you, but I would certainly put a strong vote for that, in addition to the protocols and so on, that there is a kind of certification mechanism, because safety is important, but also recognizing the safety, or having the guests and customers recognize the safety, is very, very important. Yeah, so this was Anna's question clarified. Yeah, so this was indeed all arrivals and not simply tourists, at least as the source stated. Are there any other questions that are coming up? I don't see any. Let me just see if I can find the question and answer screen, but I don't see any others. So I will pass the control back. I'm not quite sure who's up next.
There is also one more.
Oh, great.
So as you said, many tourists come from Russia, and they are price sensitive, and they go to cheaper options. How to deal with this situation?
Yeah. So there is certainly the aspect of how you can think about price competition. So it's still the same logic follows. Don't undercut your direct competitors. So you can look at it as undercutting as one product versus another product within a destination, or you can look at it as one destination trying to undercut another destination. And so there's two different things to think about. The first question is, do I have on a destination level the right price value positioning? So if we think about that chart that I showed just a couple of minutes ago, you have the value, the quality of the destination versus the price or the pricing levels of the various products in the destination. So I would suggest that you look very carefully and perhaps even use this price value graph to plot your products and your destination versus other destinations that you're concerned about. And the idea is it's not to go into the bottom right corner to be a better destination and cheaper. What it is it's to find your place within that diagonal of price and value. So if you're saying, well, look, our destination is too expensive for this market, so they're not coming. Well, that means you have to look at the price value that you're offering to that destination and perhaps adjust it. But what you shouldn't do is just look at that alternative destination, even if it's, let's say, a lower quality than you, and just undercut their price with the hopes that you're going to win, because you won't. So position yourself relative to the price and the value of your destination versus the other destinations. I hope that, that clarified.
Thank you, Brandon. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any more questions from Brandon, please feel free to ask these questions. Also, when other speakers are speaking, we will still get back to you after the presentation to answer all of your questions. I'm very happy to say that we have managed the difficulties we were facing with the technology of Zoom when we started this presentation. The two ladies who were supposed to speak at the beginning, Kinga and Rianne, I believe they have now signed up, so they are present, but we're moving them both to the end of this presentation so that we keep the momentum that Brandon has started and that we can continue with Koen. Koen, are you still there? Are you available now?
I am very much available, and I'm very much here.
And your building has not burned down, I hope?
No. Thankfully, it was only a very small fire in a different part of the building, and there was no injuries, so everybody's happy and everybody's alive.
Wonderful. Everyone is safe. That is what we want.
So,
good.
Thank you for the patience.
Then I hand the floor back to you. If you can please continue with your presentation, and then the travel trade we will do at the end of the presentation. Koen, please.
Good. So before I rushed out, we were talking about the 4 different types of hazards, and I explained you only look at the biological hazards for this purpose. The big difference, there's 2 words that you'd see on there on the biological hazards, which is bacteria and viruses. These are 2 very different things. Bacteria, as I mentioned, you've got your staphylococcus, your salmonella, etc., and virus can be anything else like we have now, COVID-19, a flu virus, etc. In terms of food processing, or the difference is that bacteria, they multiply under certain circumstances. So if you have a piece of meat and you leave it outside, not in the fridge, bacteria will multiply to millions while that piece of meat is laying there, if it has the right circumstances. Viruses don't multiply. Yeah, viruses, they can attach to a piece of meat or a food ingredient, and it will only start creating havoc while it's being consumed in your body. That's a very big difference between bacteria and viruses. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So the question is, why should I implement HACCP? Because HACCP stands for food safety. That is the simple answer. It's a structured and a very systematic control on the premises. It reduces obviously the risk of food safety incidents like food poisoning. You have allergic reactions, virus contaminations, etc. It demonstrates compliance with the law, and it is your due diligence defense. Now, if you talk about due diligence, depending on which country that you are, if, for example, if one of your customers gets food poisoning, they could potentially take you to court. If it then, for example, turns out that the court finds out that because of your mishandling of food products has led to food poisoning, then obviously you're going to have to pay out. If you can, however, if you can show you've done your due diligence, that you've taken every step of the way in the food preparation and receiving process to avoid any contamination, that's your due diligence that will get you out of trouble, so to speak. So it's important that you do that. HACCP, obviously, it saves costs. It reduces waste, reprocessing, recalls, and obviously lawsuits for food poisoning. It generates a food safety culture in the kitchen, in the restaurants, in your entire organization. It also increases confidence and trust of your customers, which at this moment is probably the most important thing for customers before they would walk into your restaurant. If you look at most of the social media these days, Instagram, YouTube channels of food and beverage businesses, you will notice that 90% of the time you will see restaurants talking about what are they doing to create confidence, what they're doing to make sure that the restaurant is clean, that things are being disinfected. And there was plenty of research the last three months that has gone on that proves that customers have said that before they would go back to a restaurant, they want to have the assurance that the restaurant is clean, is safe, and that the right processes are in place to avoid anything happening like this again. HACCP is a proactive system. It's not a reactive system. And this is very important to establish. Why is it a proactive system? Basically, if you make sure that viruses or bacteria or any other hazards don't come onto your premises, then nothing can happen and you're safe. If you don't do that, you're only dealing with the damage afterwards. Yeah, so it's proactive. It's very important. Better safe than sorry. And lastly, why should you implement HACCP? It protects your brand image and your business, especially in a time like we currently live in. Next slide, please. Now, who will benefit from implementing HACCP system? Customers, obviously. Customers have the assurance that they will not get ill. Chefs will benefit from it. Restaurant personnel, from restaurant manager to waiters to bar personnel. Management and investors will benefit because they know that if they implement the system, that they will have less headaches dealing with any damage it can do afterwards. And the business itself will, in general, benefit from HACCP systems. Next slide, please. Right, without going into too much detail and it becoming too technical, HACCP is based on 7 principles if you want to implement a proper HACCP plan or proper HACCP system. So I'll run you very quickly through these 7 principles with a little bit of clarification. But if you really want to know more about this, then obviously that has to be for another time. So it basically starts with conducting a hazard analysis. So what it basically means is you're going to have to go through your operation. You're going to have to look at every area, every piece of equipment, everything in operation, and ask yourself, what is or what can be a hazard in this particular part of the operation or in this particular area. That is the first thing you have to do. Once you've done that, you need to establish which are the critical control points. So within the operation, within your kitchen area, where are the control points, the critical control points where things can go wrong. Yeah, that basically means you need to have a, you need to ask yourself, for example, if ingredients are delivered, what risks are there? Is there any risk of any contamination, cross-contamination, that foods can, or that bacteria can survive on food? Those sort of questions you'll have to ask yourself. You also will need to do a flow chart for every group of foods in your menu that basically takes your food from when you take delivery until you serve to the customer. According to that flow chart, it will become a lot easier to see, okay, these are the points where I need to be very careful and where I need to make sure that things are being chilled or they need to be cooked properly in order to avoid food poisoning or contamination of items. The third one is you need to establish the critical limits. The critical limits are basically for chilling. You need to make sure that everything that is chilled should be chilled under 5 degrees Celsius. Anything that comes in frozen and you want to keep it frozen has to be kept in an environment of minus 18 degrees Celsius minimum. If you want to cook your food, you need to make sure the safe limit for cooking food is 65 degrees Celsius. So anything below that will pose a risk to your end product. Anything above that will basically kill viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and anything else. Yeah. Bacteria, they grow the most between 5 degrees and about 60 degrees Celsius. So that is really the danger area. You also obviously need to establish monitoring procedures, and this happens through auditing, through measuring, and through general observation. If you talk about measuring and monitoring, you need to establish a corrective action. If something has gone wrong, what are you going to do about it? What can you do about it to either to rectify the problem, that it doesn't happen again, or to rectify the problem that you don't need to, for example, throw away 20 kilos of stew. Yeah. After the establishment of the corrective actions, you need to establish the verification process. And that's really the validation that all the other 5 steps are working. Yeah. Without the verification process, you don't know if what you're doing is actually working and is actually a benefit. And the last and most important part, or most important for due diligence, is obviously you need to keep all the records and the documentation of all your processes, of all your monitoring, your corrective actions, so that if something happens, you can always go back to the past, to a particular date, and check that, okay, where was the problem and how was it resolved? Next slide, please. Now, as I said earlier, this is a fast-track course on steroids. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how to fast-track your HACCP implementation in your own food and beverage area. First one is only work with approved suppliers you trust. You need to know who is your supplier. Have you been to their warehouse? Have you seen their chilling trucks or their cooling trucks? Or the drivers that transport all the food? Are they trained? Do they know what HACCP is? Do they treat the food when they drop it off at your organization in the right way? Yeah. So know your supplier. You have to ensure that you have prerequisite programs in place. Prerequisite programs are, for example, processes like pest control, kitchen hood cleaning, general cleaning contracts, etc. These are actions and processes that most of the F&B or the restaurants have, and that prevent any contamination of bacteria or viruses already. Yeah. So if you don't do any of that, you have a lot more work to cover to implement the HACCP system. So your prerequisite programs are a very big foundation of starting your HACCP plan. At delivery stage, you need to check the condition of all your deliveries. You need to check if the packaging it comes in hasn't been ripped, if the temperature of, for example, let's say you order a piece of meat, that should come out of a chiller of 5 degrees. If it's being delivered at 15 or 20 degrees, then obviously you have a problem. That means that the chilling truck wasn't cooled properly, which means that you shouldn't accept that piece of meat. Things that are, for example, come in frozen, make sure that the entire item is frozen, that there is no defrosted parts on the item. Can you spot any molds on your ingredients, for example, vegetables or fruit? Can you spot any discoloring? That's then mainly for meat and for fish and for poultry. All these things, if you observe them, they can already be a good indicator of whether the item that you have received is safe or not safe. One of the main principles of HACCP is you have to segregate your raw ingredients from your cooked food to avoid cross-contamination. You need to ensure that all your cleaning processes are thorough and regular. Now, in the past, usually, if you were in the kitchen, the cleaning process was that once or twice in the morning and once or twice in the afternoon, someone would come around with a broom or mop with some chemicals and clean your kitchen. With what currently happened, that needs to be much more thorough. You need to ensure that all your surfaces are cleaned every 20 minutes, half an hour, that when the last shift leaves in the kitchen in the evening, your night shift has to make sure that every part of your kitchen is thoroughly cleaned, but also disinfected. You need to segregate meat from fish, from poultry, from vegetables. So it's not a good idea if you only have one fridge and you put your beefsteaks next to your sea bass, next to your chicken, next to your tomatoes, next to your oranges. Yeah, that will create all kind of cross-contamination where it goes from one item onto another item. That is something you really want to avoid, because if that happens, there's no way for you to basically track back and find out where was the problem. If you segregate these things, it's much easier to do your due diligence. You need to check all your chillers every 4 hours on their temperature and needs to be recorded. Color-coded chopping boards for meat, poultry, dairy, fish, vegetables, and other. A lot of restaurants you still see have one chopping board that they use for everything. Yeah. So if you have a piece of meat, or let's say a piece of chicken, chicken is poultry. Poultry contains salmonella. If you got a piece of chicken, you take it off, and you then put let's say you put a beefsteak on the same chopping board. That salmonella will then easily go over to your beefsteak. Yeah. Every item has a color. Red is for meat. Blue is for fish and seafood. Yeah. White is for dairy, for bread, for other things. Make sure that every item has its color-coded chopping board. Make sure that you check the temperatures during food preparations. As I said, cooking above 65 degrees will make sure that you kill viruses and bacteria. Chefs need to wear plastic gloves and hairnets at all times. Make sure that at the entrance of the kitchen, any entrance in the kitchen, that you have a dispenser with hairnets and gloves. So anyone that comes in has no excuse but to take one and put it on. Yeah, one of the main dangers for kitchens is that things that are coming in from outside into the kitchen, they're very hard to track. Yeah, so you need to make sure that people that come in, they cannot contaminate any of your equipment or any of your food or ingredients. You need to invest in cleaning and hygiene resources at all times. That goes without saying. Now, if you want to have a proper HACCP program and take it really seriously, then it is worth investing in a HACCP certification for one of your senior chefs and one front of house manager. I really recommend that you do that through an international institute because it carries most of the weight. And then you need to spend time to train every member of your F&B team on HACCP and hygiene in general. both front of house and back of house. There is no point in having a HACCP team of one chef and a front of house manager spending money on that if you're not going to train everybody else, because the management cannot be in the kitchen or restaurant 24/7. As I mentioned earlier, you need to create a food safety culture in your organization. Next, please. Now, how has COVID-19 affected your HACCP processes? Now, for those that are aware, HACCP has been around for a very long time, but it hasn't always been implemented in some countries. So how has it affected this new virus? How has it affected the processes that were written before COVID-19? Personal hygiene has now moved to the top of the list. Yeah, personal hygiene basically means hand washing, making sure that you don't come into the kitchen with dirty clothes. Yeah, you need to make sure that you provide locker rooms for your staff where they can have clean uniforms and where they can leave their dirty clothes. Yeah, so they can come in with their normal daily clothes, go to the locker room, change completely in clean uniform, and then go to the kitchen. Your personal well-being is now a prerequisite to show up for work. Those that are in the F&B industry, they know very well that kitchen teams are very tight. Yeah, I mean, everybody that has been a chef before, they know that even if you were sick, you would still go to work because you didn't want to let the team down. Yeah, so if you had fever, you would still go into work and did whatever you had to do. That should now really be stopped. Anyone that comes into the operation with a temperature of over 37.5 degrees Celsius, they need to go home. Because if one member of your team has got, let's say, COVID-19, all your other team members will get affected. It's very likely. Yeah. Any infections in your team will result in the entire team being quarantined, which then again has an effect on the business. All deliveries that you receive into your building need to be wiped down with hygienic cloths. Remember that you need to use substances of minimum 60% alcohol to kill viruses and bacteria. Cooking temperatures need to be above 65 degrees to kill a virus. Ensure that your chemicals have an alcohol content of 60%. The next one is changes in shift patterns has had an effect, where in the past you had overlapping shifts in kitchen and restaurant teams. A lot of businesses now are looking at a lot less overlapping and actually splitting their teams up. A prep team in the kitchen, for example, can only come in at night and do the prepping at night. When in the morning, when the first shift comes in, they don't have to spend time with the 5 people or the 5 chefs that did the prep time. So shift changes have happened. And you need to reduce your raw items on the menu as you cannot sanitize all your raw food. I'm thinking, for example, of sushi. You can't sanitize fish like you do with vegetables, for example, because obviously the smell of the sanitizer will go into the fish very, very easily. Next page, please. Customer perceptions of your hygiene standards has drastically gone up. It's all about trust and loyalty. Before COVID-19, I can assure you that the majority of your customers had no idea what HACCP was or food safety. I can assure you that a lot more people know about it now. And that's important. Chinaware, cutlery, and glassware will temporarily be replaced by disposable packaging. In the future, utensils that you use will need to be cleaned in a professional dishwashing machine with appropriate cleaning chemicals and the right temperature to kill new viruses. So any restaurants that are still doing the hand washing in the sink, they pose an extra danger. Waiting staff can no longer touch any food, plates, glasses with their bare hands, temporarily probably. And I've seen many restaurants that don't even give you stainless steel cutlery anymore. They now give pre-packed cutlery that you have to unpack yourself. Work uniforms must not be taken home, but cleaned professionally by an employer. And as I said earlier, staff cannot come into work in their work uniform. They need to change at work. For those that haven't got knife sanitizers yet, I recommend that you really get a knife sanitizer with UV lights to sterilize all your knives at night. And obviously, goes without saying, always follow the guidelines of your local government in addition to any of the rules that I've mentioned previously. Next, please. Now, coming back on the topic on clean and safe image in your restaurant marketing, because obviously you want your customer to know that you're doing everything you can. Yeah. So you need to test whatever happens in the future. You need to test a new arrival experience for the guest with new COVID-19 required tasks. You need to check the comfort and the convenience levels from a guest point of view. It's very important. What I suggest is that you basically, the communication from when a guest enters the restaurant needs to be 100%. You need to explain the guest there and then what you've done in the past to make sure that you have a clean environment, what you are currently doing, but also what you expect from the guests to make sure that nobody else in the restaurant gets affected. And that's mostly about that they need to clean their hands regularly with hand sanitizers. You can, for example, have someone walking around with hand sanitizers for people that want to clean their hands, but there needs to be a good communication. And you need to be very transparent in information, what you tell the guests. Also look at contactless payment procedures for those people that do not want to, for example, handle money. There's plenty of options available with contactless credit card payments, but also through Apple Pay or Google Pay. You need to make sure that your digital platforms, website, social media, your dining reservation platforms, that they're all up to date. Yeah, ensure people know about your opening hours, that if you have changed your menus, make sure they're on there, and any promotions, that they're all up to date, because everybody is going to have to fight for business in the next 6 to 12 months. That's what it looks like. In order to improve your social media communication, spend some money on good photography, good videography, copywriting, and good content. And the tone of voice must be as per your branding guidelines. Yeah, it needs to be regular communication, but also meaningful communication. Don't post stuff just to post stuff. Yeah, make sure that people look at it and that it means something. Yeah, because you need to build that trust back. You need to rebuild loyalty and trust, because the main concern is health and safety. Communicate at all times what you're doing and what you have done. Share videos, share photos, share certificates of cleaning processes. Always be transparent. Review your menu design. You can look at disposable menus, digital menus, whether it's on an iPad or a tablet. People are now doing QR code menus where you can scan a QR code and you can then basically, if you have the right software, you can place your order through your phone to the kitchen. Those are all great ideas during this COVID-19 period. Branded PPE, if you really want to go full out, it's worth spending a bit of money in branded mouth masks. For example, we have a mouth mask, as you can see. I have my own branded mouth mask with my company. That's something you can do as well. If you have a McDonald's or you have any other restaurant, look at that. It will all help in giving convenience and comfort to the customer, and it makes for great social media content. And very important, ask your guests for your feedback face to face or through questionnaires, and train your team how to respond to questions and concerns. Share your feedback with the team and the customers. Next slide, please. Okay, just very quickly to wrap up, a couple of quick wins in F&B operations and sales. Yeah, audit your business model. You need to ask yourself the question, if you have an F&B organization, is your value proposition still relevant or is it redundant? Do new health and safety regulations make it too difficult to comply? Yeah, you need to ask yourself the question, have you done market research? Do you know what your competitor is doing? Do you know what they're charging for the same item? Yeah, do you know what their value proposition is? My take on the new COVID crisis is, in the past, the business philosophy was location, location, location. That has now changed to innovation, innovation, innovation. These days, those people that innovate in their organization will have the most chance of being successful through this crisis. Yeah, but ask yourself the question and don't be afraid to ask yourself the question. Assess your procurement processes. Renegotiate prices for all your food and beverage and not F&B related stock items. If you buy items in bulk, go back to your suppliers and try and get a bigger discount. Yeah. Do you need to purchase every day, or can you purchase, for example, only twice a week or 3 times a week based on your expected footfall? If you have a pass stock in your kitchen, yeah, lower your pass stock when business is down and apply a FIFO system, first in, first out, yeah, to make sure that you're not carrying any dead stock. You need to review your third-party contracts, especially your lease, yeah, commercial leases, your annual maintenance contracts, your fire and safety. But leasing, go back to your landlord and say, look, I need your support if you want me to survive. Don't be afraid or don't be ashamed to do that. You need to analyze your recipes and your F&B costs. Yeah, do your recipes match with the reality? Is the recipe cost that you calculated 3 years ago, is that still correct? Have you taken note of increases or decreases of ingredients? Do you need to amend the recipes or change portions? And can you cut down the menu temporarily? That is very often where a lot of your hidden costs are, not having updated your menus. Conduct a menu engineering. Do you know your stars from your dogs, your puzzles, and your workhorses? Increase your stars and your puzzles. For those that do not know what menu engineering means, the next slide will explain that. Yeah, but let's go back to the previous slide first. I'll come back to that. Yeah, analyze your resources. It's no secret that this crisis has had an effect on everybody. Loads of people have lost their jobs, unfortunately. But as a business, you need to assess: do I need really 20 people now to run the business? As Brandon said in his previous presentation, yeah, there are enough businesses where you have to multitask. That is no different in your restaurant. Yeah, do you really need to have a barista and a cashier and a waitress? Can the job of 3 people be done by 1 or 2 people? Ask yourself these questions, yeah, because your business needs to survive. And you need to manage your cash flow. Yeah, cash is king. You need to check your cash flow projections at least twice a week with real figures, realistic figures, not provisions or what you think is going to be. Use real figures. You need to renegotiate your outstanding supplier bills, see if you can pay them in 30 or 60 days. You need to negotiate your service debts with the bank to defer to a later date. Yeah. If you don't have cash, you can't survive. So you need to find ways to preserve your cash and defer it or negotiate for discounts. Next, please. Yeah, so the slide I was referring to. So if you look at on the left-hand side, you have numbers sold, and on the bottom you have your profitability. So every item, you need to do this exercise with every item on your menu. Yeah. So on the left-hand side, the higher you go, the more items you sell of this particular item. To the right is the more profitable is. Yeah. If you're on the left in the dog, that means you're not selling many and you're not profitable in that item. If you're on the top right, that's you want to be where the stars and the puzzles are. Because those are the most profitable, and it's only a matter of increasing the numbers. Yeah. So look at it very, very critically in your operation. Next slide, please. And lastly, for those people that want to have more info on how to deal with COVID-19, there is a website that you can go to with free documentation, free forms, etc., etc. I recommend that you use it because it will help you tackle the current crisis much better. And that's it for me. Were there any questions? Let's have a look.
All right. Koen, I've been looking at the chat and no questions so far have come in, but I'm sure they're going to come in any moment. So please, if there is anything that you would still like to ask Koen, but also Brandon, do so during this presentation or after the next presentation. We will get back to all the questions. Now,
I'm sorry, Raul. Actually,
yes.
there are a couple of questions. I believe that these are for Kun. One is, could you bring some core safety procedures for small B&Bs?
I see. I didn't see that. Yes, please.
Okay. There was a difference between health and safety and HACCP, by the way. HACCP is mostly food and beverage related. Health and safety is pretty much everything else. So if they're looking at HACCP related procedures, definitely if they say health and safety, then I need to have more info on what particular part of health and safety they're referring to.
Yes, I can read here now the question. If I understand correctly, this is for big hotels. With this is referred ACCP. Could you bring some core safety procedures also for small bed and breakfast?
Yeah, that was the question. Okay, so
did you hear?
Yeah, I heard it. So as I said, if health and safety is a very large, very large topic. So if the person who wanted that answer can direct me in which part of health and safety are you referring to? Because HACCP is only food and beverage related. It has nothing to do with health and safety. So if you can identify that in more detail, then I can probably help you with that.
So Marina, if you could use the chat, please, to more clarify your question, and then Koen will get back to you privately through the chat box.
Okay.
Yes? Okay. Armin, was there any other question? Because I didn't see it.
No, at this point, no. Please, if you have questions, write in the chat. We will address either later or after the webinar.
Yes. All right. Well, I have been asked if we can make a little change in the schedule, that we move straight to the travel trade. So if we look at ACCP for restaurants, this concerns hospitality, the same with revenue management and sales. Now we're going to skip for a moment hospitality and we go straight to the travel trade, where we have the two ladies who we have finally managed to welcome into the Zoom webinar. There was a problem with the technology. Sorry for this. We have Kinga from Italy, who will tell us about destination marketing. I think it will be very interesting for those who are running tour operators in your country. And after Kinga would come Rianne, who will tell you about her experience with CRS and CRM systems, so the technology that can help you to reduce your cost and increase the transactions of your sales. Let's see, Kinga, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful. It is working. So Kinga, welcome to the presentation. If you can please take over from here, and you, every time you want to change the slides, simply say, please, next slide. Yes?
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for letting organize this webinar this afternoon. And as Raul was introducing me, my name is Kinga. I'm originally Hungarian, but actually I'm living now in Italy. And in my last 16 years of experience, I was mostly working with new investments, with a lot of EU grants, strategic communication, and building up touristical destinations all over the world. There is someone, I think, who is not.
I'm sorry, please mute everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I was working in Canada, Australia, a lot of destinations in Hungary, and now I'm in Italy, and proudly we are actually leading in the Northern East the biggest tourist destination organizations on the seaside, in the mountainside, and also creating really innovative destination marketing ideas, because actually even now in Italy, COVID-19 got a big shock, so Italy got a really big hit. We are expecting actually 65% less turnover in the country in the tourism industry and the tourism business. What we created here is actually a really unique network cooperation, and our projects are actually best practices in Italy, because we are building up basically bottom up and bottom down organization in tourist destination, and helping these mostly not really well-known destinations to grow. We are proud that in the last 2 years, actually, we made something here in Friuli-Venezia Giulia, which is the northernest part of Italy, where we were focusing on a specific market. It was Hungarian market, and we raised up actually the night expenditure with 32% activity in the last 2 years, which was a really amazing result with this innovative, mostly like revenue-based and marketing-based cluster. And based on that, actually now, as myself, I'm like a social media ambassador of Friuli-Venezia Giulia region, which means that all the tourist destination marketing activities, the action plans, are basically with me, and I'm working together with the region, working together with the cities, and also with the touristical bodies in the region in the northern Italy. Thank you, and next slide, please. For me, actually, and also in the tourist destination management field, I think it's really important to see the circulation of how a competitive tourist destination can build up. Because there are many destinations around the world, and now I think it's really important to focus on a really strong communication, to focus on really strong cooperation, because tourist destination needs to survive, that they actually will unite together. Also the partners of the destinations, which means the hotels, the travel agents, the tour guides, the tour operators, all the tourist service providers, because now this is the time of cooperation, not competition. And it's really important for all of us to understand that if a destination has all its body, and if it sees all their strengths and weaknesses, which we can actually measure it with a SWOT analysis, and it's always really important to upgrade our SWOT analysis, that how our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats look like, we can see the clear characteristics actually of the destination, and we can start to cooperate. We can try to target our market together, which is also really important to create actually the brand of our destination. What type of destination we are? Family, or actually we are a hiking destination or mountain destination, or we would love to mostly focusing on like elderly travelers or small small groups for young people. It's really important how we do the branding of our destination. Then for sure there needs to be always a communication strategy and really clear actions. This is how actually this matrix and this circulation going to help us from our tourist destination to be competitive, because this is what is really important now. And actually Italy, as we see, is one of the best, I think, role model around the world how to create tourist cooperations with family ventures, with big ventures, actually with tourism services. And this is like in northern Italy, it's a really important model and a really famous model that how we are creating these tourist networks and how actually we're letting them merge and grow and work together. Because in this part of, I think, our life, yes, we need to change many things, and even that we physically got blocked, but all our destination needs to stay visible. We have to communicate, because actually our guests and our travelers will return back to the ones where they're gonna feel that I'm always hearing about them. They are safe because they are communicating, they are safe for what they are doing for our safetyness. And actually the returning travelers are always gonna see that, okay, if a destination is alive and if they are cooperating, it means for everyone that they are strongly united, and it's really important in our communication. Next slide, please. If we talk about tourism destination management and marketing, there are three really important pillars. We have to go step by step. First is the destination. We really have to know our destination, our tourist data, what are our values, what is the characteristics of the market, what type of services we offering to what type of people who are actually our target market. These can actually hear like a really easy things if we look at these words, but if we not dig behind these words and if we don't analyze them, as the markets are now changing and actually all the world is also changing around us, we really have to be up to date with all of these data regarding to our destination, because this is how we can always transform our services, transform our cooperation to the recent market trends. And target market analysis and actually our destination characteristics will always help us to regenerate and to rejuvenate our market, to always offer something new to the new trends, and to be always like freshly upgraded. Destination management, which is my actually passionate and really favorite field, is I think it's a cooperation which works horizontal and also vertical. Destination management organizations can be created like even with 15 entrepreneurs. This is, for example, how we started in Italy, here in the seaside location. Now it's actually, basically, we are now covering the 70% of the northern east region in Italy, with representing in this tourist destination organization the accommodations, the tourist service providers, travel guides, tour operators, basically the whole travel trade industry. And we let them work together. We let the information grow and also flow. In Armenia, as I was reading and I was checking a little bit, doing some study, the DMO systems, they started to work really well. There are many type of destination management organizations, small ones, middle ones. They need to be, I think, merged, and we need to reinforce them, and we need to motivate them to try more levels of cooperation. Cooperation is, I think, the future. I really and truly believe in it, that if we know how to cooperate, and if we know how these networks and thematical clusters can put together, clusters I like mostly focusing on one type of field of cooperation, like mountain areas, for example, or lake areas, or historical routes, or thematical gastronomical routes. These clusters can be also a really great part of the DMO system. And destination marketing is one of the most livable things which is going to communicate for you. If you do it well, actually your traveler is going to communicate also about you. And I think that that's the most important message for the future, that if we are creating a brand which is going to talk about us, also our travelers, and the satisfactory level of the traveler's experience going to always grow and grow. There is a really great sentence by Henry Miller, who said that once a destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. Let also our travelers see our destinations. Let's connect with them and let them talk together with us, and let's talk about us. This is why I really believe in a communication which is also a community-based communication, like travel communities are really important in our future destination marketing, and joint and planned actions. Yeah, thank you. If we want to describe a destination, all we need is a plan, a roadmap, and the courage to press on the destination. Bert Nightingale was saying it, that we always really need to plan like an interesting map of our destination. We have to see clearly the place, what is our values, and what kind of services we can offer with this place. We also need to see a little bit of the outer market of us, like the travelers, our locals, because our locals are actually a really huge treasure for the travelers. They have all the stories. They're gonna deal with storytelling. They can be a really strong pillar to build up new products, for example, based on culture, heritage, local traditions, or local habits, which is gonna be also like an amazing service, merging together with the destination and reinforcing it with the great communication and marketing. For sure, there is economy around us, like now, that we got a hit. I mean, tourism sector got a big hit by COVID-19. Economy has all the numbers, has all the trends which we have to see. We have to see realistically that how economy is actually growing behind us. For example, like national or regional grants or funds, what can help us, what kind of financial or any kind of, together organized actions can help us regarding to, for sure, stabilizing our economy. And what kind of tourist field partners or institutional partners can help us to stabilize our activity. And for sure, pricing is also another thing. And as Brandon was saying, even me, I truly believe that discounting is not a solution. If you have a brand, if you are strong, if you communicate, if you are able to make changes, and if you are able to be up to date with the market, and if you know exactly your market, you have to keep on that track, and yeah, discounting is not going to work. I think that a cooperation to create an amazing tourist destination management organization has many fields. All these fields always have to be watched and keep updated. And on this basis, a destination management organization can be really competitive. Next slide, please. If we talk about destination management, communication, and how these values are actually merged into one platform, we can say there is a really great sentence that we are staying in a basic accommodation, but it doesn't matter. What matters, it's all about the experience. This saying from Iman, it's really important because I think the best communication and marketing tool is how the traveler is going to feel and how they're going to be experienced in our destination. For sure, in this period, it's a little bit passive, but any of you, all the travel guides, also the travel agencies, also the hotels, the destination, they had many, many experiences with their travelers. We have to let them talk about us. We have to let them share their experiences, their activities with us, with the type of like rankings, also to helping with positioning and targeting. And that's why like the characteristics of the location, the accessibility, the services, the style of our destination, the style of our hotel, the style of our restaurant, or the style of the tourist services, we're going to bring many experiences and feedbacks. We have to ask our travelers. It's a really important saying that when was the last time when actually we asked our travelers that how they felt with us, how they felt with our services, how did they like the region, how did they like our values of the destination, because it's always going to help us for the positioning and targeting. Why I really believe in joint marketing, like why like a travel guide, tour operator, a hotel, or even a destination, they can communicate together. They can create amazing communicational packages, even platforms on social media together. They can link each other because it's also going to have a cross-branding of the overall destination. The more we find a way to cooperate, the more we find a way to build actually networks or clusters in a destination, the more it's going to help us to give a value-added action to the customer who's going to come to our market. And it's really important that even in this stage, when there are no traveling activity, not that much, we need to be visible and seenable, and we have to communicate about these things. We can go on the next slide, please. Two things, and actually two type of, I think, method which can help a lot for us, how we can see ourselves realistically on the market. One of them is SWOT analysis, and the other one is the target market analysis. Both of them will help us how to actually see our pro and contras, how to see our strengths, weaknesses, and the markets around us. And that's why SWOT analysis is also helping to analyze the destination around us and also our services, our actually life on that market, like our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We need to go step by step to see it clearly. The target market analysis is going to go a little bit more deeper to see the place, the price, the promotion, the people, how we process our actions, the physical environment, and also the product. And these actually analysis has to done always, every quarter, just to see how the trends and how the market is changing. We can move to the next slide, please. I just wanted to give you a couple of ideas about the SWOT analysis, that there can be many questions asked for us. The most important thing is that we need to answer it on a truly realistic way. What are our selling points, propositions? What are our competitive advantages? How the customers like the destination? What do they like in our destination? What are our values? We also need to see the weaknesses. Why are the disadvantages? What we feel are the disadvantages around us? What are the competitors are doing? Why we are actually not making partners from our competitors for this period to work together? What kind of opportunities the market can actually show us? What are the internal factors can boost up our destination together with new services, together with new partners? And how actually are we checking our competitiveness? Do we, for example, measuring ourselves, how we are acting on the market? And for sure, there can be always also threats, which we also need to see that what kind of factors are around us which can be actually threatening us or our new future actions. We can move to the next step. Thank you. There are a couple of really important questions, and as Philip Kotler was saying, that there is only one winning strategy in marketing. The market and the direct superior offering to the target market. We need to define the market. We really need to define our target market. That's why we always and continuously have to have questions. From where and actually connectivity is the most important part of this period during COVID-19, because we have to communicate. Even if actually people can't come to our destination, we need to guide them and we need to give them content through our social media platform, website, newsletters, Instagram, Flickr, many platforms are available. We just need to really be up to date and day by day communicating to get the connectivity, to make it more strong, and to actually reinforce them to also be interested by us, and also ask them how did they feel in our destination. These are the communication messages are really important. And as I told you, I truly believe in travel communities. If there is a strong travel community behind the destination, the ones who really love or they are really passionate about the destination, they're gonna always talk about us. To create travel communities, it's a really step-by-step action. It can be also done parallel with the destination marketing strategy, and I'm really happy to help you in the future to build together really strong travel communities together with our social media and together with our marketing messages. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. I was just bringing a couple of examples, like if you are talking about a destination, there can be many visual messages, a lot of photographs, a lot of sentences, because actually now social media and the online world is full with many content. We really need to create something which is gonna talk to our target market, and which way the people are gonna feel that, yeah, I really would love to go there, or I'm really curious to go there, or I really would love to discover something. That's why it's really important, the quality of our communication and the messages. We're just saying that, yeah, we are a mountain destination, or we are a sea destination, or we are saying that we are the island of the sun, we are actually a family destination, we have many services related to our target market, which will help you to have an amazing holiday with us, or to have an amazing stay with us. And it's also important how we are creating the quality behind the communication messages, how clear they are, and what type of visuals are actually accompanying our messages. Because there are many Facebook sites now, and the competition online in social media is amazing, it's enormous. We really need to create our own content, not just reshare something. The more we're gonna be step-by-step creating an own content, people are gonna far more stick to our actually stories and storytelling, and we need to make them get involved into our stories. It's really important, because that's what they want to feel when they come to our destination. We can move to the next slide. Thank you. It's also just actually an example for an accommodation place regarding to accommodation marketing, why it's important to have quality pictures, use color, and your messages, why they need to also show a little bit more and to give more, not just to talk about that we have a rooftop on the pool, but we can also say that, yeah, from our rooftop, you can see the beautiful ancient historical city behind with the lagoons. It's really important, always the added value communication messages. We can move to the next slide, thank you. Tourist destination management and marketing can be used many marketing tools. I'm really happy to teach you more and more, because there are many versatile marketing tools can help you to build up a really great marketing action plan. Joe Chernow was saying that good marketing makes the company look smart, but great marketing will make the customer feel smart. And this is what is really important. We have to make the customer feel smart, because the customer is the one coming to our destination, bringing the money, gonna spend there, gonna spend their night. So we have to feel that the customer with experiences, with really great feeling in our destination. So that's why we really need to see what is our role in a destination. Are we like a travel trade partner, or we are an accommodation, or we are the destination itself, or we are an institution? And we need to see the cooperational channels, platforms, and also the communication around it. we have to cooperate. This is what I believe truly, and this is works, because cooperation going to generate a matrix. It's going to reinforce the matrix and the destination. Social media and the travel community and all the travel experience stories going to help people. And yes, we have to work with influencers, bloggers, YouTube channels. There are many really colorful tools can help to create really quality messages, easy, price-wise, and I think in a really creative way to absolutely reach our target market. And we can go to my next and last slide, where I'm just actually summarizing that destination management is not really existing without destination marketing. And destination marketing can be done in a competitive way if we have a really very well-working destination management organization, where the experiences can, with all the values, can be actually transferred to the customer in a quality way, where we can make impact in the tourist industry with cooperation, and where we actually absolutely can say that we know our destination and we know our target market. And this is the way how actually all the actions going to merge into each other with a competitive way, how the destination will be visible, reachable, how we're going to actually get a brand, and how our travel community will trust in us, because the most important message of this part of actually our life and in tourism, that people have to trust in us. They're going to search for places which is safe and where they're going to feel safe, and where we communicate about that what are we doing for their safety, how we're going to help them. And this all actually, I think, going to help every one of us to transform the destination, our destination, into a top and competitive destination. Thank you very much for my time here, and hopefully I could give you a couple of hints regarding to destination management and marketing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kinga, for this wonderful presentation. I'd like to once more emphasize what we said at the beginning of this presentation, that the key to get out of this crisis is to prepare for after the crisis. And that is the main message we want to convey with this webinar. Now is the time to join forces with also your competition and create a story like Kinga was presenting. And this story would describe what your destination is about. And if part of this story can convey the reassurance to the guest willing to travel to Armenia, that it's safe to travel to Armenia, and that there are standards in place at the hotels and the restaurants and the tour companies, that safety standards are going to be respected, and you can get that message across, then you will be able to welcome the incoming guests who will definitely come again with reassurance. Now, Kinga has explained how such a story can be created. We are now going to switch to Rianne, who can explain to you, once a story is created, how you can actually distribute that story and also manage the sales process that you would like to achieve because of such a story going out. Rianne, can you hear us? Are you there?
Yes, it's my phone.
Yes, wonderful. The technology is helping us now. So I'm going to switch to you now, and just tell me when I need to change the slides. Just say, Raul, change the slides. Yes?
I will. Then please go to the first one.
Yes, so I will. There we are. So maybe you explain something about yourself. Yes?
Of course. Okay, thank you all, and thank you all for still staying with us despite all the technical issues. That makes it even harder for me today to convince you about how needed the technique is nowadays, but let's give it a try. I am Rianne. I was born and raised in the Netherlands, but since 1 year living in Slovakia, where I'm currently managing a middle-sized holiday resort. But all of my studies and work experience are based from the Netherlands, where I directly after my final internship started working by one of the biggest tour operators in the Benelux, and after that at the biggest guiding company of the Benelux. And in both companies, it was my duty
to get them more automated and online by using the right technical partners. And after finishing my projects within this company, I got an offer to help a startup excursion company in the Netherlands. Here I developed and implemented the marketing and sales strategy, and we decided to go full on online marketing. And after the 5 years of operation, we had approximately like 400,000 bookings a year, which of 89% came all from our online channels. And at this point, I was still the only employee at the office. I managed to do the whole operational process of 400,000 bookings a year alone, and was still able to combine this with my sales and marketing task of the company. And all of this was possible because we were using the right systems and we knew how to use them. And that's basically what leads me to today's presentation. So Raoul, if you can go to the next slide. Yes, thanks. So today I'd like to share my thoughts with you about how I think that using a right system can help you to survive and recover from this COVID-19 epidemic. And if you think, yeah, it's a great story, but I'm not sure if a system can use my company and I don't have the resources or the money to invest at this point, just let me ask you 3 simple questions like, do you still work with a number of Excel sheets, or does it take longer than 3 minutes to make a booking confirmation? And if not everybody in your company able to answer every single customer question? If your answer to one of these questions is yes, then of course my presentation today can be a benefit for you. And very briefly today I will be focusing on every business in the travel and trade sector. Basically any company that wants to maintain a relationship with the customer, and every company with an operational process. So let's move on. Go. Yes. So first of all, I like to share with you my thoughts about how you can survive this COVID-19 epidemic as a tourism company in a developing country. And in the past few months, weeks, days, I have seen a lot of blogs, articles, and even books trying to tackle the question every single entrepreneur in this industry has right now: how to survive this COVID-19. Most of these articles are with great intention, suggesting tourism companies to focus on domestic travel, creating gift cards, or to focus on direct bookings instead of resellers. And of course, I think all these advices are great, but I'm just not sure if this will work if you are a tourism company in a developing country like Armenia. And why this is if, imagine if the United States is already fearing a recession, imagine the impact this virus is going to have on the economics of a more economic frugal country. Of course, I do think that hotels and airlines will see some immediately recovery from business travelers after the restrictions are over. But I'm not sure if this will work, if this also counts for the locals. Because even here, I can see that some of my friends or family are forced to taking the holiday now just to keep their jobs, and some of them are not even that lucky and just losing their jobs. So I'm not sure if the locals in Armenia will have the opportunity to travel domestic. And also the advice they gave about offering alternative dates or giving gift cards, I'm not sure if this will work either. Of course, it's worth trying, but people who are planning a trip to Armenia are likely just going to want to cancel the trip and get their money back if they still can. And that's because it's already quite hard to plan a trip like this, and you not go to Armenia for a week, but at least for 1.5 or 2 weeks. So you have to reschedule it with your boss. And I think once they decided to cancel the trip, it's not likely they are going to book for it again soon. So giving a gift card or a voucher will not work because people will not book their hotels or excursions without having a flight ticket first. And the last advice that I see on every single travel blog is like, you have to focus on your direct bookings. But I'm not sure if this works because it is an issue of trust. Travelers, we relied on big, well-known OTAs more than on unknown companies in an unknown foreign country. And with the effects of the COVID-19, that's going to be more true than before. So yeah, then the question remains, what do we have to do as a tourism company in Armenia in a time like this? Okay, I have no magic formula for this, but I really think that you can focus on 5 or 4 points to make sure you are doing the best that you can for your business. And the first thing is, of course, it seems very obvious, and this is bring down your costs. But I think it's important to know that every cent counts. So look into every single line of your monthly costs. And even if you're signed up online, so even if you never met anyone in the company, reach out to them and see what your options are. The crisis is affecting every single industry around the world, and we all need and want to work with suppliers that are willing to be more flexible in times like this. And of course, they won't call you and voluntarily and say, hey, you can have a discount because of this COVID. No, but they might be willing to do if you ask for it. Sometimes you'll be able to downgrade your plans temporarily or get a discount code for a couple more months, but whatever it is, it counts. And the second point, I think it will really help you guys, is to automate everything. And of course, this goes along with my first point, with bringing down the cost. Because if you're still relying on people to do things that systems or softwares can do, you are, in my opinion, in a bad position. It's sad, but the truth is that tour operators will have to let some people go in order to survive. It's either that or maybe closing your business. Therefore, I think it's the perfect opportunity for us as a tourism company in a developing country to catch up in terms of technology. And the third point, and I think this is the most important one right now, is that you have to focus on your online risking. The first people that will take the risk and start traveling again once the restrictions are over are the younger crowds like me. And of course, we all know that the younger crowds are all about booking online. So this will be likely the first channel that will recover. So you want to make sure that you are on there, that you are on the top of your destination listings. And I know a few big OTAs are already doing campaigns to get this going on. So don't lose the opportunity now and get in contact with them. Go talk to him and see what you can do to make your product more attractive. And the fourth thing, I have to be honest, I saw this advice somewhere else, but I'm going to repeat it because I think it's even more true in developing country like Armenia. And I know this crisis is affecting tour operators around the world, but the hard truth is when all the travel restrictions are over, Italy as a destination won't have to do much to start receiving travelers back. However, in a developing country, the reality is different. It's going to take longer and the size of the cake will be smaller than it was before. So please don't put your company at risk offering products with a low demand. And consider only relaunching your business with those products or tools that you're sure of will have a demand. And the fifth point, and I'm not sure, and this will not help you surviving or help you saving for the COVID, but it does no harm either, and that is considering doing online travel and workshops. You will have a lot of downtime at this point, as well as your customers and well as your resources. So use all of your downtime wisely to start online video conferences, give presentations about your products to your clients, and ask your resources to do the same to you, and get to know more about each other's products. But today, as a CRM and COS specialist, we will focus on the first 3 points. So let's go on to the next slide. Oh. Yeah, perfect. So let's start at the beginning. What is CRM? CRM stands for a customer relationship management. It's a combination of practices, strategies, and technologies that a company uses to manage and analyze customer interactions and data. Of course, this is to improve the customer services and relationships with the end goal of having more sales. So for the most businesses, the most valuable and important asset is our customers. And the thing that I don't get is that the information about those important customers are spread out in so many different places, like the CEO's brains, a sales rep's inbox, or even the accountant's stacks of invoices. I think this must sound a little familiar for all of us. But then, imagine that one of those individuals holding access to key customer information is leaving your company. Then all their knowledge could walk out of the door with them. All these kind of things makes it all too easy for details to get lost or forgotten, or for a meeting or phone conversation not to be followed up as promised. And choosing which leads or prospects to focus on can be a matter of guesswork instead, and rather than a decision based on facts. And of course, your customer will feel the pain when your team isn't on the same page. From their perspective, they have a relationship with one company, not a collection of different people and departments. Everyone on your team needs context about every customer needs, wants, and current state, so they can pick up the conversation where you or your colleague left off. And all these things are problems that our CRM system is designed to solve. It's one central place to organize all the details of your leads and customers. So it is very easy for everyone in your team to gain insight into the state of your business and the status of every customer relationship. And especially this time now, I can imagine you will receive a lot of phone calls and emails from customers about the current situation. They think they read right now is certainty in this insecure time. They don't want to wait and hear you saying like, yeah, I'm so sorry, but the colleague you spoke with last time is not in the office today. Maybe you can try next week. And they also don't want to wait till you have every single colleague in your office to you ask every single colleague in your office if they know something about this. No, they want a straight, convenient answer straight away. There are enough uncertainties at this point. So you have to deliver a paid service now, and they will reward you for it at the end. Of course, they will speak with their family and friends like, I'm so sorry, but I had to cancel my trip to Armenia. I was looking forward for it. But the company I booked it with was so helpful. I will definitely book with them again so soon the restrictions will be over. But not only wait for their calls, but keep them updated as well. Be assertive. Send them updates, or even give your best customer a phone call to let them know you're still there, the engines are still running, and you can't wait to hit up again. But these things are only possible if you have all your customers into one single database. So think about your USP as your customer relationship management. The customers feel so unique as being a customer of yours. So a system sounds amazing, and there's basically just a few key features we need for this. And the first thing is having all your data at one central place. And therefore we need a file per customer. And what do we want to in that file? Is your customer a business? Then first thing we want to know, is this business still active? Then we want all the contact details like email, phone call, web page, even their social media accounts. And of course, we will need all the employees we are in contact with and their role within the company. So if we have to give a phone call to the accountancy, we can directly call the accountancy. And we do not have to go to the main line and get forwarded and forwarded and forwarded. It costs time. And if we have a contract with this customer, we want to put a contract in it. And we also need a logbook of your customer. So every time your colleague is in contact with this customer, they can make notes, and the colleague after you can see what is spoken about and what the status is. And if everybody in company does this, no information will be lost or forgotten anymore. If one of your colleagues gets sick, you can just see in the customer file or in the dashboard what needs to be done. So it's not, and what we also need in the system is like the possibility to make selections. That's not only good for your operational team, but imagine your sales representative going on a sales trip and in a certain region, and he just makes a selection on that certain region and all your customers pop up. Or let's imagine that your sales manager is willing to send an email to all the customers who haven't booked in a while. Just make a selection on the last booking date, etc. And all these elements are just the basic elements. The technology is way ahead nowadays, and we need already some advanced features of a CRM system, but we will talk about this later. So you have your CRM, all your information about your customers, and then we also need a system for all your product information. So besides the CRM, we have a COS, a reservation system, a central reservation system. And that's basically one of the most widely used tools in the travel and trade industry. It's also known as a booking engine. A COS is a replacement of the old-fashioned information provided by suppliers, such as printed brochures, flyers, listing in local or regional travel guides and newspapers, because those promotional material are costly, labor-intensive, and the information remains static when data sometimes need to be changed frequently, like revenue management. So a central reservation system is basically a booking software that gathers product information such as capacity and resources and waits to manage the booking process and to facilitate a smooth and dynamic flow of information. A COS is offering a payment gateway so your customers can easily book online through your own website. But the COS system is not only the backend of your website, it's also the system that can provide all your information to a large number of distribution channels, such as OTAs, wholesalers, or other third-party resellers. It's basically designed to make the daily task automated. Booking confirmations, it's able to read your emails, so you don't have to answer the same question over and over. And it is an easy tool to manage your capacity and resources. Whatever you want to modify or cancel your booking, you'll be able to do it with just a couple of clicks and you will get an instant confirmation. So let's imagine all the components of the CRM, so your customer information and all the components of your COS, your product information, into one system. And these are the systems that we will talk about today. These are the WYSIWYG systems on the market nowadays, and these are the futures. And there are so many on the market now, but there are even more developers working on it as we speak. So let's go to the next slide, please. Yes. So, and we need a system because there is a new online generation coming. There is new generation coming like me. I know I maybe not be your target market yet, but I hope that one day I have the opportunity to grow old, and then maybe I will be a target market. And now I'm booking my travels online. I've never been in a travel agency office. I never saw a brochure in my life, but I know which websites and which platforms to use to get the best deals. And when I get older, it's not like I will not doing this anymore and I will suddenly buy brochures because I'm older now. No, I will still use my online resources and I will only get better in it. So you have to be ready as well. So if I involve, the technology involved, and in the way, so we also need to change the way we work and contact with the customers. So therefore we need some new advanced systems, so futures for systems, like your email integration. Almost all of the contact we have with our clients nowadays is by email. A system with an email integration will scan your incoming email and directly make it into a task linked to the customer who sent these emails. So you can work from only your desktop instead of your mailbox. And it even answers a frequent asked questions. And other thing we need is a chat integration. Like if I book a plane ticket and I have a question about it, I never call the company anymore. The thing I do, I go online and use the chat box because it's faster, easier, and so we need it as well. So by integrating a program like OLARC or LivePerson directly from your system, you can chat with not only your customers, but also with your employees and partners, and that's all from the same desk. And we also need a social media management integration because we cannot go around it anymore. Social media is a sales tool, so we need to manage it. With an integration to your system, you will have one dashboard with all your social media. Make an update for all your accounts and receive all the reactions and messages from one single place. Okay, but I can keep mentioning the possibilities and needed components for hours, but we don't have the time for that today. I just want to make you aware of all the possibilities there. So let's quick move on before I run out of time. No? So with the new online generation coming up, we need to grow our distribution to reach more customers. So like I said before, focus on your online listings. The first people that will take the risk and start traveling again are the younger crowds, like me. And of course, like I said before, we will use the online sources. And I don't think that relying on your direct booking channels will help, because we are willing to take risks, but we are not suicidal, and we want to be a little careful. So we rely on OTAs and more popular, well-known companies just because it gives me more faith. And so I will use bigger OTAs such as TripAdvisor, Expedia, or Booking instead of booking with a local or uncertain office. So it's time to define your online strategy and start with locating and processing new potential international operators like OTAs. And make sure you get a cute overview of the world-leading platforms. And I know that the relationship between OTAs and operators seems to be a hot topic at many conferences and webinars nowadays. And that's because the current position in the hotel industry, where the market is dominated by two huge OTAs who have a massive reach, what is leading to unstable high commission rates. But this is not new. It's been like for this for a long time. And there's a lot of talk about this being a recent development in the industry, a new problem we're dealing with. But the only thing that really has changed is the concept of pre-arrival and in-destination. Previously, most resellers only had access to the pre-arrivals. In-destination sales belong to conscious and direct operators. But the mobile phone cut right through that and made all customers fair game. Right up to the end, to the check into the hotel or jump on the bus. You can reach them to every single last minute, even if you're already in your country. So in terms of shared distribution, in 20 years, only the names of the players have changed. It's come from TUI and Thomas Cook to Travel or City and Orbitz, and now it's TripAdvisor, Expedia, and Booking.com. And this is not going to stop because there's nothing natural or even optimal about cutting out the middleman. The future is platforms and not business to consumer. The future, at least for now, is Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, and other similar businesses which takes commission to facilitate transactions between businesses and consumers. And the channel you call direct, your website, is not direct. The traffic comes from Google. And it comes maybe as a surprise, but of course, Google is a platform. Google ads should be costing you around 50 to 25%. So the argument I hear the most why we not should work with OTAs is the commission. I can't afford to pay 25 commission. And yes, I know sometimes it's higher, but despite what someone's saying, it's not continually going up. When I started 7 years ago, we already paid 25% to our standard resellers and even 30% to our highest resellers. And where I live, the countries get between 20 and 40% commission. And these are not, and it's not a crazy number across the industry. In retail, the market is up to 50%. Amazon charges by product types from 6% to 45%. So if you can't afford to pay 25% marketing costs, then you have your pricing wrong. If you and your competitors are listed on the same platforms, on the same OTAs, then they have the same commission you do. Maybe your costs are too high, or you need to different size your product more. So the thing is that many businesses don't calculate the true marketing costs, except when it comes to OTAs, because then it's a given fact. But if you added up all of your print and design costs, offline advertising, Google ads, Facebook ads, marketing agencies, website management, credit card fees, etc., does it really add up less than 25%? So, and don't forget the traffic you get by your listing on OTA. If they don't display your company name, then get creative with photos. And if you don't get your brand awareness, then of course you still have your concept awareness. If every OTA is full of a beer tour in Prague, then pretty quickly everyone thinks that's what we should be doing in Prague. For every person who bought your product on an OTA, assume another 20 viewed and didn't buy it. That's a lot of free advertising, though. So next time somebody tells you have to focus on your direct business only, you can tell them that is not the only way. Yes, of course, you should work on your direct business. Your website is your most important marketing tool and will probably remain so for a long time. But it should never stop you of winding your distribution. If you want to reach more customers, you need an OTA help. I doubt you can reach Indonesian as well as Traveloka, or market the locals as well as Foodpandas, or sell to Expedia customers as well as Expedia does. So my advice to you guys is work as many OTAs you can. It will not cost if they are not selling. And it's just good for your destination marketing as well. If they see of every single online platform they're looking at Armenia listed, then of course Armenia should be a beautiful country. So, but I can imagine that it will be a little confusing to sign up with so many platforms. How do we keep track of all those leads? How do I manage my capacity? And that's again where a good system kicks in. Almost all the systems nowadays have a channel manager. That means that your system can connect to a so-called API connection to almost every other system. You put your capacity, your product in your own system like a spider in the middle of the web, and every single lead in this web comes back to the spider, so to your system. So let's say you have your products on Expedia and someone is trying to book your package. They click on book now and Expedia is connecting through the API to your system, checks your availability in less than 1 millisecond and allows the customer to book or not. If the customer can book, the booking goes straight into your own system without any manual work, so no chance of making mistakes. But this kind of system is not only for your online resellers, but also for your local resellers. like a tourist office, travel agencies, or even hotels. You can easily give them access to a special booking tool within your system, where they can book your products and check your availability and pricing without even have to call you. And that's not only a benefit for you, but also for the customer and also for the reseller. So let's see it as a unique selling point. You being the first company in Armenia that goes to the hotel and say, you can buy my products without even have to call me or wait for reply. You can just check in my system, and you can see how many commission you already have earned, when we will pay, etc., etc. So let's go to the next slide, and I can show you how it works in practical. Oh, yes, thanks. So let me really quick give you 2 examples of how a system could be a great benefit for you on your daily base use, by giving you 2 examples of 2 different types of travel and trade businesses. Let's start with an excursion company, because I'm familiar with it. So, okay, you have an excursion company offering excursions starting in Yerevan, and you will be going to a museum at the morning, and then you have a lunch in a restaurant, and at the end of the day you will have a boat tour. So you will put all your listings on, you will put your product and your capacity online to as many OTAs you can mention. Then you have your own website. Then you have the concierge of the hotels in Yerevan, and you have the local tourist offices, and they're all booking your products. But they're all connected with your system. So basically you don't have to do anything. The bookings are rolling in, and the only thing you have to do is manage your capacity. If you have a 50-seater bus on it, and you already see that 2 weeks in front there are already 40 seats taken, you can add an extra bus. Or the other way around, you only see that a few seats are taken. So you can make steps to do a last-minute offer, or you can downgrade your capacity. And then, let's say from a week before the tour starts, your system will send automatically an update to your resources. So they will send to the bus driver how many seats are taken at this point. They will send to the restaurant for the lunch how many people can expect it. They will send the numbers to the restaurant, to the museum, and even with their nationality. So maybe they can already reserve their audio tours. And it all goes automatically. You don't have to do anything except managing it. And then the day of the tour starts, maybe you have different pickup places to Yerevan, and the guide and the bus will start at the first pickup place. Let's imagine that your system provides you with a GPS tracker on the bus. So soon the bus driver starts, all your customers on your list will get an email with the GPS codes of the bus, so they can follow on the map your bus. So they don't have to call, like, I'm here, did I miss the bus? Where was the bus going? When is the bus coming? They can see it from their own email. And again, it goes all automatically. And your guide has an app on his phone where all the participants are listed on. So every time a participant steps into your bus, you can easily check in with the phone. And at the end of your pickup route, they can make it final, and again there will go an automatic email to every single resource that with the final number in the bus. So again, you don't have to do anything, and by the end of the tour there goes an automatic email to all the participants in the bus asking for a review. So the only thing that's left you is just managing your capacity. Let's say, okay, let me take another example. For example, an incoming tour operator. You are an incoming tour operator for groups. You get a request. The request is coming in by mail, and this mail is connected to your system. So your system reads already your email saying, like, we need 26 rooms. I prefer to have this hotel, and these are the dates. And the system automatically puts this in your file, already make a card with this reservation with all those information in it. if it has, if your system, if you have contracts or allotment with hotels, you put it in your system and the system reads from the email and checks automatically the contracts to see if there's something available. If not, there will be a pop-up that, hey, you have to search another hotel for this group. And every time the customer sends a room breakdown, your system automatically reads it, changes the numbers in the system, and sends also an automatic email to the hotel. So again, no work for you. So that leaves so many reservation employees free to do more creative tasks or even still growing tasks. So let's go to the next slide and also the final one because I'm running out of time. The hardest part is like choosing the right system that fits with your company. And this is something that you have to be aware of, the technical aspects, the costs, and the needs of your company and where you will be at a couple of years. So what I hear nowadays is a lot of companies asking me, what are free systems? Of course, there are free systems of the markets and it sounds all great, but please take it into consideration. Because why will they offer you a free system only if they can earn money at the end? So they're only offering the basics for free. So soon you like an advanced feature, and of course they make a system like this that at some certain point you need an advanced feature, you have to pay. And those features are way more expensive than a system you already paid for from the beginning. Also, when you have a problem with this kind of system, like many problems today, you want to call a help desk or something. The free systems charge you for that, and they charge you a lot. So when you decide to go with a free system and you put all your information in it, that costs time. Your employees have to get used to the systems, but also your customers. They will get used to the new way you work. They will get used to the layout of your documents. And they will not be very happy if at some point you decide to change because at the end the free system appears to be more expensive than another system you paid for from the beginning. Please keep this in consideration. And don't limit your search by the names I'm giving you now because there are thousands on the market and there are so many things you need, and you need to find some who will really match your needs for your company. So let's move on. Go. So really quick about the next steps. What now, my time is up for today, but together, and I can help you with that, to go to your operational process, see what is going wrong, but not going effective in your process, and together we will find a way to make it more effective. We will see how you can reach your distribution and how you can extend your distribution partners, all with the right system. So, and I can also show you how you get in contact with those systems, and because as much as you need them, they need you as well. They don't have partners in Central Asia. They don't have a tourism company in Armenia yet. And they like to have it online. They like to put on the list that they are also have clients in Armenia. So they are more than happy for you to be the first one. And of course they will do everything to get you on board. So and the same is with the OTAs, of course. Don't limit your options to the OTAs who are only listing Armenia so far. No, every single OTAs want to reach their business as well, to want to grow it. So also take the chance to get in contact with them. I think that's it for today. I hope it's all clear, and let's move on to the questions.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I once more want to emphasize it's possible that if you need more help with the understanding but also implementation of CRS and CRM for the travel trade, you can get in touch with us. We will send you an email after this presentation. We have something called tutorials, and Rianne can take up to 10 participants in a series of webinars. These are 3 webinars. So you will get inside information, what systems would apply to you, what is the best what is the best to choose, and also how you're going to implement practically. If you would do this yourself, you probably will be spending 6 months just finding out what is available on the market. And if you would do this together with Rianne, you will get non-based opinion. So there is no sales strategy behind this. We just want to help you with all the information that we have. So after this webinar, please let us know if we may help you. We would be delighted to do so. Rianne, for now there are no questions. And as we are rather stressed for time, we've had some technical hiccups. Unfortunately, this happens. I would like to ask then Glenn, our final speaker. Glenn is a hotel sales expert. From those who are participating from the travel trade, please do continue to listen into this presentation, because even though Glenn is an expert from a hotel perspective, it would be very interesting, I think, for people working in the travel trades to understand how hotels are ticking. So please, Glenn, can you join? Can you take over?
I can, yes. Are you going to control the slides, Raul?
I will control the slides. You just tell me when to switch, and I hope I will manage.
Good, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So I'm last, which is very familiar for the UK, because this is like a Eurovision Song Contest where Britain comes last. However, it will be good and quick. So my name is Glenn. I have 30 years experience in the hotel industry. Latterly, before I set up my own company, I was the vice president of IHG across Europe, where I managed 84 hotels across 27 countries. Prior to this, I worked at Corinthia Hotels, Oberoi Hotels, and Como Hotels. So I have experience of hotels that are small and beautiful resorts, right up to great big city center hotels from the US and the Caribbean, across Europe and into Asia. So pretty much lots of experience. Next slide, please, Raul. This slide is really to inform direction. When will normal return? Nobody knows the answer. It creates panic in the hotel industry. Here in the UK, all hotels are still closed and are not allowed to open until July. And I know that that's different in different countries. I think on the left, this sort of picture of an airport has been very familiar. But I think at the moment we need to consider the challenges, and these are generally the commercial and sales challenges that are worth looking at before we set strategy. So for example, existing and new clients may be in difficulty. There are certain clients here in the UK, great big ones like American Express, which have lost 1/3 of their staff. They're unlikely to bring them back anytime this year. So people that are dependent upon American Express and American Express clients are currently facing difficulty. Government and legal restrictions here in the UK, we've only just started to do quarantining rather late. But there's certain countries that you're allowed to travel to, certain countries that you can't travel to, so that would mean guests that are waiting to arrive in your destination may be prohibited. Airlift, consequently, is also a problem. Team members, particularly with the sales team, some sales team members have been put on furlough. When they come back, will they even be managing the same clients or the same markets? Sources of this business may change. Commercial good practice may change in the way that you promote your hotel. You may not have the expenses that you used to, and you may not even have some other clients to promote your hotel through. Financial planning and spending wisely would be something to consider. Your competitors, we heard this before in the presentations, your competitor set may have changed. You may even have some hotels that are out of business, or some hotels that come back way before your hotel. So be prepared that your comp set may have changed. And of course, the physicality of using your hotel may mean that you're not able to bring back the meetings market anytime soon, because you find it difficult to incorporate it into the physical structure of the hotel. So these are just things to prompt thinking before we move into the next stage. Next slide, please, Raul. The interesting thing in a recent survey, though, has and is good news for the hotel industry, that 39% of people that were surveyed all said, and these are consumers, all said that they would prefer to stay in a hotel than they would prefer to stay in other types of accommodation. Not that they wouldn't, but they trust hotels more than anything else to get it right. And they mean get it right in terms of managing them to have a comfortable stay and cleanliness. So something that is positive. Next slide, please, Raoul. During this time, though, I'm a great believer, before you do anything, you need to audit and ask questions. It's very tempting during this time, and I have a client here in London who is itching to open the hotel and just go back to the way things were. No, you need to carry out an audit, and I would recommend this 4-step process. Ask these questions. Number one, where are we now after closure? Your hotel is unlikely to go back to the way it was. Number two, I would highly recommend zero-based budgeting. Your forecast or budget that you have for this year has been blown out of the water. You can disregard it. Go back and set a new one, and you need a 1, 3, and 5-year plan. Number three, how might you get there? You need to be able to make some strategic choices. And number four, you need to have some sort of delivery and control system set up in place. Next slide, please, Raoul. Before you do anything, though, I think there are 3 sets of questions that I would recommend. The first one is this: how has the business aspiration changed? Where were the sales from? Because they may not be the same. What is your strategy by segment? Because it's highly unlikely that you can treat any hotel, even if it's small, by just saying we just have one segment. What resources are needed? Who's going to do all this work for you? And who can help to drive the revenue? And by that, I mean third-party partners. Next slide, please, Raoul. For the salespeople, I've used the analogy here of gardening, meaning it's time to weed the sales garden. So just as you would look in a garden in the spring before you set the flowers and all that type of thing, I would think, what doesn't flourish? What should be saved? Where can growth come from? What should be nurtured? How much should you spend? And who's doing it all? I would highly recommend that if you ask these direct questions, you're likely to be able to filter the answers into something that will give you a realistic view of the sales structure. But I wouldn't ask the sales questions just in isolation. I'm a great believer in collaboration. So next slide, please, Raoul. Make sure that the executive committee is involved. So I would have marketing, revenue management, sales as a priority, and then ask executive people in the hotel their opinion of these questions. Who still trades, flies, and books? Then the what clients are going to resume, and what will they pay? Why should people stay in your hotel? When is the booking pattern likely to come back? Because seasonality is going to change greatly. And I think we've all had experience of hotels that have seasonal tour business. Is it likely to come back? Will it change its profile? So we need to be aware of this because it's unlikely to go back to the way it was. How are clients booking? How are they affected? Have they changed channels? Are they booking through a third party rather than coming direct? But you must also look at the SWOT analysis. We heard this before from Kinga, and it's very important. At the moment, are your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities still the same? They could be very, very different to the way they were. Look at your competition. Your political, economic, and social is bound to change because the politics and economics of not having access through flight availability or having restrictions on who comes into the country. And then you would also need to now begin to set your business ambition. And to do so, we need to look at 3 things. Next slide, please, Raoul. I would make sure that these 3 teams work in harmony. There is gentle rivalry maybe between them, but in my experience, that's from years ago. I would have highly collaborative participation, whether you have these people on site or whether you're part of a group where they are remote. Make sure that to set your strategy to recovery, sales generation, marketing communications, and revenue management are working in harmony. Plus, I would also point out that if your hotel is part of a brand, be that as a franchised or managed partner, or you're part of a representation company like Best Western or small luxury hotels, they will also have their own revenue management, sales, and marketing people setting their own strategy. So make sure that you're walking in tandem with your partners before you do anything else. One last thing on analysis and what you should look at, next slide please, Raoul, is geography. I would strongly look at where your business is likely to come from. Wherever it was coming from before, it could come back in different shapes and forms, but you could also be looking at new markets. So from that point of view, I'd like to start to go into the quick wins that I would suggest hotels look at. And number one, Raoul, next slide, please. This we've heard before earlier today, and I just want to re-emphasize domestic versus international travel. I would highly recommend going left to right, red, yellow, blue. The red is highly likely to be the first to come back to a closed hotel, regardless of where the hotel is located. So if I think of a hotel that is based, I'm just going to pick now, say Slovenia. Slovenia is going to look at its domestic business first, and quite rightly. There will be local leisure business, local corporate business, perhaps even event business, wedding business, etc., and meetings business that will stay in country. Go there first, and it's likely to come back quickest. Number two, your neighbors. In this case, this is Germany. Germany would quite rightly be looking domestically first, and then they will look at their neighbors. They'll be looking at Austria and Switzerland and the Netherlands, etc., for their business. If you can drive there or take the train there, it's highly likely that you will look at this next before the blue, which is international. And as we all know at the moment, with airlift restrictions, the size of planes being reduced, the number of airlines that are in financial difficulty may take routes out of their international route menu. I would definitely set the strategy in this direction. If you set blue, yellow, red, you're working backwards. So go red, yellow, blue. Next slide, please, Raoul. Number two, look at your market segmentation. In general, all hotels segment in the same way. So number one, look at your transient market. Your transient market is likely to be your rescuer. So look at number one, domestic leisure first is likely to come back the quickest. Domestic corporate is likely to come back number two. So make sure your strategy, your plans, your allocation of spend and time are green, number one, and then top and bottom. Number two, go to group. Group domestic is likely to come back third, and group international is likely to come back last because of the restrictions that this market faces on social distancing and being able to get flight availability and trusting that they can afford to go to a different destination. So certainly in terms of your quick win number two, your major segment bounce back should be in this order: transient followed by group. Next slide, please, Raoul. When it comes to, Raoul, can you click them all so they all appear one after another? It'll be 5 clicks. Quick win number three, your channel and loyalty leverage is vital. So you have your direct business which come into your hotel, but look at the following. So from the left top, branded mobile and web online marketing is essential. Whether this is done by your hotel alone or you're doing it through a partner, make sure this is tight. To the top right, reservation customer care. You will still have people take a phone call at your hotel. If you are partnered with a brand, for sure, they will have a voice reservation system. Make sure that anything you want to say about your hotel in recovery phase is known by these people so they can sell you. Rihanna mentioned this, third-party engagement, effectively manage your online distribution, your GDS partners and your online travel agents. Your rates, availability, and what you say about your hotel must be clear and must be up to date and accurate for people to be able to buy your hotel. They will only buy what they can see, so make sure what they see is accurate. Number four, loyalty. If you have your own loyalty scheme, this is the fantastic thing. Most hotels will have a loyalty scheme through an external partner. And generally, if they're part of a brand, so if you're a Holiday Inn or a Marriott or a Hilton or a Hyatt hotel, you're going to naturally have access to their loyalty scheme. For sure, the big brands are spending lots of money, which you have paid for with your fees, to spend on generating loyalty from their loyal customers. Make sure you're part of it. And lastly, your direct consumer marketing, the use of the CRM system, and to Rihanna's point, also making sure that you're totally engaged in social media, because this is one quick way of driving channel business. Next slide, please, Raoul. just looking at channel in a little bit more detail, you'll see a grey vertical line go to the left in blue. The direct preferred channels means these are the channels that will cost you less, and they are likely to generate higher rates. So to the far side, hotel direct bookings on the whole will generate you a higher rate. This is the responsibility of the sales team, and look at the yellow and the green. The yellow are the existing clients, which should be immediately engaged by the sales team prior to reopening. Then you'll have your new business. This is the direct channel and is likely to cost you less in commission. Web, whether you have your own website or you have a branded website through your brand partner or your representation company, make sure that your brand site is up and running, is correct, and is ideally in multiple languages if you're looking for that source of business. Voice, we've already covered. Make sure that your voice agents are totally up to speed and able to sell the hotel. Indirect, the more expensive, but to Rihanna's point earlier, online travel agencies can cost you a lot in commission. And if your business comes through a major brand, you'll also have a transaction fee. But make sure this is planned for, because when the market returns, a vast majority will be booking through OTAs, and a vast majority of the corporate clients trying to find your hotel will be booking through the darker red, Sabre, Galileo, Amadeus, WorldSpan, and travel management companies. So be prepared that all 5 of these need to be part of the planning process for a quick win. Next slide, please, Raoul. Promotion. Promotion and tactical execution. These are all the classic elements of promotion, but they are not all equal. Next slide, please, Raoul. These 2 I would take out for a returning hotel post-COVID closure. The reason being advertising, and by advertising, I mean classic paper magazine style advertising, and sponsorship are too long to generate any income. They take too long to generate income. They are long-term investments, they're very expensive, and they are brand building in nature. For a hotel that's returning from a post-COVID closure, you are not looking at branding, building your brand, you are looking to generate revenue and quick. And the way to do that is through the yellow one, as we've mentioned, through channel. Make sure that you, if you are promoting and advertising, it's through the channels. Direct selling is gold dust at the moment. Put that together with trade show. If there's any trade shows, and they could be domestic trade shows through tourism councils or through convention bureaus, make sure that the sales team is engaged in that. Sales promotion, to Brendan's point, don't drop your rate, but look at sales promotion with one night free or inclusions, etc. But this is a good way to generate business and quickly. Your story is vital. So if you have a PR media relations outfit in your hotel because you're a bigger operation, then use it. If you're part of a partner, make sure you use their PR company. And of course, loyalty is vital, because your loyal customers, if you're part of a loyalty scheme, are likely to be the first to return. Next slide, please, Raoul. Number 6, this is just to show the top is your hotel-driven sales and marketing. Your bottom is through the brand interface. By this, I mean, if you have on-property salespeople, revenue management, marketing, PR, they will have their strategic focus. But secondly, you must use your partners. So again, using the example of if this was a Holiday Inn hotel, or it's part of a consortium, or it's part of a brand representation such as Best Western, for sure, they will have the following. They will have retail, meetings, leisure, market-specific and bespoke sales activity. You may not want them all, but there'll be a menu on offer to your hotel to help you lift it after closure. Make sure the 2 are married together. So hotel-driven and brand-driven sales activity are joined together. Next slide, please, Raoul. Spend may be tight. So if you can do the next 3 slides quickly, Raoul, one after another. So spend is very, very tight. And I would say 2 things at this point. One reiterates what Brendan said. Do not sell cheap. You don't need to, and it's a dangerous thing to do. no matter how much pressure the hotel comes under. And I can say this because I've been in this situation before, after tsunamis and after the Gulf War and after terrorism in Paris and London. Let's sell cheap. The answer is no, you value add. You will also be told the green one, but we have no funds budgeted for sales and marketing, but spend you must, and you need new ideas. So next slide, please, Raoul. One of the ways to look at this will be to make sure your sales team is out and about in the marketplace working. Your sales team are highly likely to hold the intelligence that will help you to make decisions. To the top, they are daily and actively driving existing and new revenue streams with their client base. They will also be surprised how much market knowledge they have, how much customer insight they have. They're able to inform operational changes because the client has told them what they're looking for. And all too often, ops and sales are divided. They need to be together on this, aligned with other functional roles. This means revenue management, sales, and marketing should be joined at the hip. And you must align with your brand and external partners. But your sales team will be engaged with all 5 of these, from the brown, the yellow, the green, and the blue. Make sure that when you are planning your reopening, that their intelligence, their market intelligence, has been listened to. Next slide, please, Raoul. This is just a quick ready reckoner of things that I would do as a quick win to give you some clarity to the process. It's very easy at this time to stab around and grab at this and grab at that and look at objectives and then look at numbers. I would make sure that from a sales and marketing point of view, you take a logical step and you go from the top. So from the dark, ready brown color at the top, make sure you always start with audit and analysis. Do not let the sales team get sidetracked by jumping into promotion. They like that because it's sexy, it's fun, and it's where they can spend the money. But don't do anything until you've done the deep red. Then do the next red. You must restate your qualified objectives and quantified ones because your hotel has changed. And to my point earlier, look at zero-based budgeting in terms of expenditure as well. Yellow, plan for your segments that are going to come back and be active and know how your clients are booking. Promotional mix, again to the colorful slide I had earlier, drop sponsorship and advertising is my advice and go for the others. Make sure your channels and partners are open. Make sure your sales plans have been costed. You've got the right people doing the right job in the right place. And make sure that your tactical recovery is regularly revised and kept on track. Next slide, please, Raoul. And a quick win here. I've put these into the left and the right in terms of process, and some of these you've heard today, but it won't harm to have them reinforced. Number one, in terms of your quick win processes in sales, optimize your cancellation policies. I'm assuming this has been done already, but even when you reopen your hotel, some clients will still be struggling to keep moving their business about and moving the month in which they want to engage with your hotel for a meeting, etc. Be flexible. 2, don't cut rates, value add instead. We've heard this one before. Keep your average rate strong with sensible pricing. To Rihanna's point, create a CRM strategy and track anything, track the crisis, but also make sure that in your CRM system, you know who you're dealing with. Review your booking history. This will be in your CRM. Audit your collateral, your website, make sure that what you're saying about the hotel is up to date. To Koen's point, if you want to be able to say that your hotel has great cleanliness, and to Raoul's point, the example of Portugal, then say so. Stay in touch with your clients, offer them personal offers, because this is one way to attract them back. Make sure that the commercial team are equipped and have alternative uses for your space. And quickly through promotion, make sure that you have a reopening plan. Your reopening plan should resemble your annual sales and marketing commercial plan. Communicate and implement it. Make sure that everyone is on board, be that the general manager or the owner of your hotel or the brand that you're working with. Reposition from global to local. If your hotel does receive global business, make sure that you're looking at the classic earlier slide that we had from left to right of domestic, neighbors, and then international. Make sure you understand how the market's working, have geographic targeted promotions. We haven't got the time today to explain programmatic marketing, but I'm a firm believer that your programmatic marketing, if you have this in your sales and marketing toolbox, that it's used to the maximum, offer value bundles to entice people to come back, review your segmentation, and make sure that your past campaigns are reviewed because they could generate instant business and again retain your loyal members. Next slide, please, Raul. For Armenia in particular, we've seen the data in a similar way from Brendan earlier, but your data at the bottom, there's 10 years of growth. We know where the business is coming from. The EU, I would say, is the entry point to recovery, and any marketing beyond Armenia, I would look at the EU. But I strongly encourage hotels, because they are part of the destination, to have their reasons to believe. And I say this because if I were to approach a UK tour operator on behalf of Armenia, they would say to me these questions. Is it safe? Is there a visa restriction? How do I fly there? What hotels are available and what names are they? And what is there to do in the country for 3, 5, 7, and 10 days? So any hotel needs to be able to answer those questions, not only as a destination, but as a hotel. And my belief would be that if the reasons to believe involve the culture, the nature, mountains, the UNESCO World Heritage, so all the beauty of Armenia needs to be put together with the availability of hotels, airlift, and to Kinga's point, DMCs are vital in being able to sell the destination. Market penetration will come next because it's easier to go back to the people that you know. It's like friends. You know, you're going to go to the friends you know rather than the friends you don't know. So make sure these may not be all valid, but if it's Georgia and neighboring countries and current airlift, and to Brendan's point, the diaspora, Armenian people that are wishing to return to Armenia, look at that first. That would take 80% of any budget. Your 20% that's remaining will then look at new market opportunities. So if the new market opportunities could be from Asia or China, or I would strongly recommend the UK, because the UK specializes in adventure tour operators more than any other European country. I would certainly look at that as something new to explore. Next slide, please, Raul. If I was to summarize this, and these will come up one after another, Raul, I would certainly do these 10 things. Know where your business is likely to come from. Number 2, understand the segments and when and how they buy. Number 3, and for alternative revenue streams. Number 4, balance direct versus your indirect business, because both are vital for recovery. Number 5, make your promotional mix choices and spend wisely. Again, no sponsorship and no advertising. Number 6, work in harmony with the brand and commercial part. For example, if your hotel's part of a brand consortium, make sure you're working with them. Don't sell cheap, add volume and drive value. Use the sales team's insight and network and knowledge to help recovery. Point 9, plan logically, sell the reasons to believe in both your hotel and the destination, and finally, for tactical recovery, make sure you follow a plan for process, policy, and promotion. If all this is knitted together as one, but start with your audit so you know where you are and then where you want to be, you stand every chance of having a successful reopening. Thank you, Raul.
All right. Thank you very much, Glenn. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you also for staying with us, even though we are overrun our program. We have one more speaker to come from EBRD itself. The question, of course, with the hiccups of the technology, if that person is still there. Armanui, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You are there, wonderful.
Yes.
So if you
just let me share my screen.
Okay. So there, I have to say entry. There, yes. So the floor is yours.
So I will be doing in Armenian if you don't mind, because this is about our program. Շատ շնորհակալություն բոլորին լսելու, մինչև վերջ մնալու համար, կարծում եմ ամեն մեկի համար կարևոր ինչ-որ նորություն կամ ինչ-որ ուղղություն կարողացանք տալ մեր էքսպերտների հետ միասին։ Ես ավելի շատ կներկայացնեմ, թե ինչ ենք մենք որպես EBRD առաջարկում բիզնեսներին, արդեն իսկ գործող բիզնեսներին։ Մեր ծրագիրը միտված է աջակցելու բիզնեսներին տարբեր խորհրդատվական ծառայություններով, դա կլինի սկսած ռազմավարական տարբերություններից վերջացրած մարքեթինգային ռազմավարություն, մարքեթինգային ծառայություններ, նույն CRM համակարգներ եւ այլն։ Ծրագիրը Հայաստանում 2003-ից գործում է եւ արդեն իսկ 1400-ից ավել ընկերությունների աջակցել ենք։ Հիմնական դոնորը մեր եվրոպական միությունն է, որի շնորհիվ կարողանում ենք համաֆինանսավորել բոլոր նշված ծառայություններից օգտվելը բիզնեսների եւ նաեւ աշխատում ենք միջազգային խորհրդատվական ծրագրով էքսպերտների հետ, որոնց այսօր լսեցիք արդեն իսկ։ Մեր ուղղությունները հիմնականում ինչ ուղղություններով ենք աջակցում, դա ինչպես տեսնում եք շատ բազմազան է, ամեն ուղղությունը իր մեջ ներառում է ենթաուղղություններ, կախված ընկերության խնդիրներից, ընկերության ինչ զարգացման ու առաջընթացի խոչընդոտներ կան, համապատասխան հասկանալով այդ բոլոր խնդիրները եւ առաջարկելով համապատասխան ծառայությունները։ Ինչպես ենք մենք աշխատում։ Մենք աշխատում ենք լոկալ խորհրդատվական ու բիզնես ծառայություններ առաջարկող ընկերությունների հետ, երբ որ ընկերությունը դիմում է մեզ, աշխատում ենք կոնկրետ չափանիշներով ընկերությունների հետ, դա 2 տարի գրանցված գործունեություն պետք է ունենա, մինչև 50 միլիոն եվրո տարեկան շրջանառություն ունենա, սակայն նպատակը գոնե 50,000 եվրո, մինչև 250 աշխատող եւ նաեւ պատրաստ լինի համաֆինանսավորելու ծրագրի մյուս մասը։ Մի մասը մենք ենք համաֆինանսավորում։ Երբ որ բիզնեսը դիմում է մեզ, մենք կապում ենք բիզնեսին տվյալ ծառայությունը մատուցող ընկերության հետ, նախնական հասկանալով, ուսումնասիրելով հիմնական խնդիրը, ամբողջական գործընթացը կազմակերպում ենք եւ համաֆինանսավորում ենք զուտ արժեքի մինչև 60% դրամաշնորհի տեսքով։ Մնացածը ընկերությունը վճարում է որպես իր կողմից ներդրում։ Սկզբունքը աշխատանքի ծրագրի այսպիսին է եւ արդեն իսկ տարբեր ոլորտի ընկերությունների հետ ենք աշխատել, այդ թվում նաեւ զբոսաշրջության, հյուրընկալության ոլորտի։ Ծրագրի մասին ընդհանուր առմամբ այսքանը։ Ես կուզեի նաեւ նշել այս վեբինարի մասին, հաջորդիվ ուղարկելու ենք բոլոր նյութերը ու տեղեկատվությունը, ինչպես նաեւ այդ tutorial-ների մասին։ Tutorial-ները նախատեսված են արդեն իսկ որոշ չափի միջին չափի ընկերությունների հետ, ովքեր որ այս ամեն ինչը կիրառելով հնարավորություն կունենան ավելի արդյունավետ պատրաստվել այս COVID-ի հետագա վերականգմանը կամ վերաբացմանը։ Միկրոընկերությունները ցավոք չեն մտնում մեր ծրագրի շրջանակների մեջ, միկրոընկերությունների համար այսպիսի վեբինարներ ենք փորձում անել, որպեսզի ավելի շատ տեղեկացնենք, փորձով կիսվենք եւ այլն։ Email-ով կստանաք բոլոր չափանիշները ու նաև տեղեկատվությունը, թե տվյալ tutorial-ներին ինչպես կարող եք մասնակցել։ Tutorial-ները, ինչպես նշվեց, առավելագույնը 10 հոգու համար, 10 ընկերության ներկայացուցիչի համար են լինելու, իրենք լինելու են 3 ամիս տևողությամբ առցանց, այսպիսի հանդիպումների միջոցով, որ շատ ավելի ինչ-որ պրակտիկ ուղղությունով մարդկանց հետ աշխատել, բիզնեսի հետ աշխատել, փորձել աջակցել։ Այս tutorial-ների մասին, որոնք որ մի քանի հարցեր կան, որ հետաքրքրվում էին, մենք մնացածը արդեն email-ի տեսքով ամբողջությամբ ձեզ կտեղեկացնենք ու նաև կխնդրենք լրացնել գնահատման թերթիկը, որը նորից կուղարկենք առանձին mail-ով այս բոլոր տեղեկատվության հետ, որպեսզի հասկանանք նման մեր նախաձեռնությունների արդյունավետությունը։ I'm done with my part, Raul. You can take over.
Yes, I am back. Can everybody see me? I hope
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can briefly look at if there are any valid questions to still go through, but as we are very much over the time, I will touch that just briefly, and we will get back to everyone who has asked a question still. CRM.
So I also briefed all the participants that how is going to be the process of the tutorials, and
Yes.
we're going to share all the info and also the
Yes.
criteria for the businesses to join the
Yes. Yes.
the most demanded tutorials.
Yes. All right. Well, on behalf of the EBRD consultants, we want to say thank you very much that you gave us the opportunity to present the solutions that we have. We are there for you to help you prepare for post-COVID-19. We can't make the virus go away, but we can help you to improve your know-how and make you stronger for after the post-COVID-19, so that you can actually grow again. So please let us know. We will reach out to you. We can help you with CRS and CRM. We can help you with destination marketing. Please, not just one company, but a group of companies doing this together. Sales and marketing for hotels, food and beverage, ACCP, but there are many other subjects. I'm aware that some of the hotels in Yerevan are branded. Either it's a management agreement, or it's a franchise agreement, or it's a reservation and marketing agreement, be it Hyatt or small luxury hotels of the world or Best Western. We have specialists that can help you to have a hard look at these agreements that you have in place and see, are they making sense? Are these agreements really helping you to be ready for the post-COVID-19 world? Because as Glenn said, it's a new world. So you have to look very carefully at agreements which are in place. But also, if you have an independent hotel, or be it an independent tour operator, and you may want to consider, shall I start selling and marketing myself under the umbrella of a bigger organization? We can help you by providing you with information and helping you to ask the right questions. Does that make sense for me to take the next step? We look forward to be of service to you. We are there, and please let us know. Amin, I hand it back to you.
Yes, thank you very much to all our speakers as well for dedicating time and sharing their experience and trying to give insights for how to overcome this crisis and this how to prepare for post-COVID situation. So thank you very much. Thank you, Raul, too. Yes, if there are no other questions, thank you to all the participants. See you soon. Take care and be healthy.
Bye-bye.
Շատ շնորհակալություն բոլորին առողջություն, բոլոր հարցերը նաև կարող եք հետո ուղղել մեզ էլեկտրոնային մեյլերին մեզ պատասխանելով։ Շնորհակալություն բոլորին. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.